everyone. Welcome to Draft Day, another draft with some great guests that I've had on the channel before. Some I've had on the channel in other shows, but making their first appearance on Draft Day. It's a great panel. We're talking Lord of the Rings. We're talking The Hobbit. We're talking all Peter Jackson, Middle-earth, in inspiration of the new Prime series, The Rings of Power, which is not necessarily going to be what we're drafting today, but hey, if it informs the pick, sure, you can bring up Rings of Power. I have not caught up, but I can't wait to talk about these six movies and all these characters, villains, props, and all that jazz. So let me bring in two of the hosts on the Dyl Pickle Movie Network for other shows. We got Chad Sackville Baggins and Matt Wise Gamgee. I'll put you all up there. Matt, of course, seen on Frame Wreck. Chad, of course, Picture This, and they're all on various other shows. You gentlemen excited to get on this unexpected journey?
Nice, super excited. Listen. I think that the Lord of the Rings trilogy is the perfect trilogy. It's the greatest trilogy ever made. I think that they are so close to my heart. I saw Return of the King 5 times in the theater. I saw Two Towers 3 times in the theater. I only saw Fellowship once in the theater.
So get out your calculator and figure out how many hours that is. It's got to be over 70.
Well, the amount of hours I spent in theater is nothing compared to the amount I've spent on physical media, because I would watch the DVDs over and over again until the extended edition came out, and then I would watch it with every commentary, and each one had at least 3 to 5 commentaries. Watch it with every commentary and every piece of bonus material on the discs. I would take a day off and just do that
with all 3 commentaries at once. Or did you do them separately? Oh, okay.
I did it separately. That's what I'm saying. The extra hours, the day that a extended edition Lord of the Rings would come out, I would take that day off work, and that would be my day. Just having that experience. I love these films, and I'm very excited to talk about them.
Great. Well, I can't wait to talk about them with you. And Chad, how are you feeling about Lord of the Rings?
I'm feeling great. I'm kind of like a little bit on the opposite end of the spectrum. I came into Lord of the Rings a little late, but as a burgeoning film fan, I've really enjoyed them. We just, and I'm sure you'll talk about this. We just did
right now,
our series on Picture This of the Lord of the Rings. So we've been talking Lord of the Rings for like 3 months now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but now we're going to get down to like the real details, like the lines of dialogue and all the props and all that jazz.
Yeah.
But the two people I'm bringing on next, I mean, they are Lord of the Rings experts just as much as we are, even more so. I don't know who the biggest Lord of the Rings expert is. I know you all love it so much, but the person I thought of first that I just know has always been telling me, if you do Lord of the Rings, if you do Lord of the Rings, if you do Lord of the Rings, I went on, and that is Stacy. She's been on the past 2 draft days. This is a three-peat for you. This is a whole trilogy for you, Stacy. But welcome to the show. How you feeling?
I'm very good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm excited to talk Lord of the Rings with you guys. They're my favorites. Like, I can't say which one. Just as a whole, they are my favorite movie.
There you go. And I was gonna say,
I didn't see them as many times in the theater as Matt because I had a young child at the time. But I did, when Return of the King came out, drive like 2 hours to go see the extended edition of Fellowship, the extended edition of Two Towers, and then it was like a Thursday. Instead of waiting till midnight, they let us put on Return of the King at like 10 o'clock at night to not have to wait. So that was fun. That was a long day at the movie theater, but it was a lot of fun.
Man, I haven't seen any of these in theaters. I hope they re-release them sometime near me very soon. But actually, everyone, we actually have a special guest here today. We have another special guest. You all are special guests, but we have Peter Jackson himself. No, I'm just kidding. We have the Road Kiwi himself, Malcolm Lay, here. But you know what? Even better than Peter Jackson. I'm honored to have Malcolm here. Malcolm's a huge Lord of the Rings fan, as I'm sure we all know. Malcolm, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's in the contract somewhere that whenever you talk Lord of the Rings, you have to get a carry on there. I'm disappointed I wasn't on any of the picture lists, but
yeah. I mean, the picture this is, we should have reached out to you, Malcolm. But when we do the inevitable Lord of the Rings, well, I guess no, Hobbit wasn't nominated, but we'll figure out a time to have you talk more Lord of the Rings on here. But this is a great opportunity. We got 4 great panelists and me. I'm okay, but you 4 are great, and I'm excited to be talking about this great franchise, not just Lord of the Rings, but the Hobbits. I mean, I'm a fan of the Hobbits. I don't know about y'all. We'll get there when we get there, I assume. So let me talk about the rules while I make this wheel. I'm going to try to multitask here. The rules of this draft day, as always, there will be 5 rounds total. Random draft order will be selected by this wheel that I have in my hands. The draft is, The draft is snake. I can't speak today. The draft is snaked, meaning whoever has the 5th pick will get the first pick in the second round, and so on and so forth. So if you're picking first, you're going to have to wait 8 picks in between your first and second pick. That's how it works. For this particular draft, we're not just drafting straight up characters or movies. We're drafting a little bit of each thing. We're drafting 1 Hobbit, because there are many. We're drafting 1 non-Hobbit hero, because there are even more of those. We're drafting 1 villain. There's a lot of those. 1 prop. There's a ton of those. And 1 line of dialogue, which, as we know by the length of these movies, there are a lot of those as well. The choices must come from at least one of the Peter Jackson 6 Middle-earth films, so you can't draft something that is solely in the series or the TV series or solely in the animated films. But if they are also in those animated films or series and you want to bring them up, be my guest, but they have to be present in at least one of the 6 Middle-earth films, whether that be extended or regular. That's up to you. If anyone disagrees with the eligibility of a pick, they can always veto it, meaning if Chad picks Samwise Gamgee and says he's the best villain of all time, and we're all like, Samwise Gamgee's not a villain, then we can try to veto that, even though we all know he's the most ruthless villain in the series, right, everyone? I'm just totally joshing with y'all.
How dare you? I would never say such a thing.
You were the first one I saw and made eye contact with, even though you didn't make eye contact with me, because I'm the only one who can see you all when those overlays are on. But I do have the wheel here. I have 5 names. 4 colors, because they didn't want to give me a 5th color. So I'm just going to spin it. The first person that it lands on is going to get their choice of where they pick in the draft order. So here we go. The spin is in. Matt's luck. Let's see if it continues or not.
Oh no!
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm picking first. I've been kind of trolling some of these people and saying there's a clear 1-1. Let's see if that's true for everyone. But I think there's a clear number 1 pick for me, at least, that I want to get, because just of the categories we have. I'm very interested to see if you all agree. But here are the 4 names of you all. Let's see where you all land here. I don't think I've ever drafted in the middle, have I? I've always been like first or last. Stacy, you are next. So would you like to go 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th?
I'm going to go 2nd.
2nd. All right.
Can you guys hear me okay? I know my voice is off.
Yeah, no, I can hear you just fine. Could be worse. You could be doing this whole thing in Gollum voice. And our
Jesus.
I feel like I'm in
first
Gollum voice
timer,
practically.
Malcolm? Yeah, Malcolm. Would you like to go 3rd, 4th, or 5th?
3rd.
3rd. All right. So
Probably
we want
sound
those
worse to me
heavy
than I do
hitting
to other
top picks.
people.
So between Matt and Chad, this is a common occurrence, I feel. Matt is always in the last spin. Chad, not so much. Chad has had good luck with this wheel. But Matt,
Yeah.
you're going to have better luck today, because you will have the pick of either 4th or 5th pick. Now, this is a very interesting decision, because you're either going to get 2 picks back to back, or you will have the 4th overall pick. Which one would you like?
I'm going to go, only in this situation am I going to choose to pick last, just so I can have 2 back to back. My number 1 is going to be gone by the time it gets to me, and I'm deeply, deeply disappointed by that. But
well, you never know. Crazier things have happened. People let me get Toy Story 3 in the Tom Hanks draft in the 2nd round, pick 10, which I think, knowing me, I'm surprised it ever made it around to me. So, we'll see what happens. Crazy things can happen on draft day, but let's get into it. Round 1, pick 1. When I look at these categories, there's some categories that are deeper than others, yes, but there's one category where I think every category you go into, there's like a bunch of heavy hitters. But there's one category where there's one thing that always comes to mind. It is in the title of the film. For best prop, I am picking The Ring. The Ring to rule them all. To me, that's the clear 1-1. I mean, Lord of the Rings, you get the ring on your graphic. Like, it is the whole driving incident of the entire film. It's what all the characters covet, some of them possess, some of them want, they all crave. It's the driving force of a lot of the villainy in the film, but also a lot of the heroism. I know it is not like I love the ring. Like, no one's like, oh, that's my favorite. Like, but
Gollum does.
But if we're exactly like, if we're gonna all pick props, I think I definitely got the most notable prop in the film, at least in my opinion. And these other categories, I'm happy with my 2nd, 3rd, or 4th picks. Like, this is the one where I was like, this is the most shallow category in terms of heavy hitters. So I'm picking The Ring. I don't know if this was what everyone's consensus 1-1 pick was, but for me, it was like, you can pick a lot of hobbits, you can pick a lot of non-hobbits villains. dialogue is endless, but like props, it's like you want to be the one to get the ring. I mean, I'm Gollum. I want that ring, baby.
Yeah.
Anyone have thoughts?
That's exactly what I was gonna do if I would have got first, just because, like, for me, not being the deep Lord of the Rings fan who can pull like, oh, remember that one weapon or whatever, I was like, I really need that ring, because otherwise I'm gonna have to do a little bit of research on air. But it's like you said, it's not the deepest of categories, but I'm glad you got your big pick.
Matt, you seem surprised.
I'm only happy because it wasn't my 1-1. Stacy's going to take my 1-1. There's guaranteed 100%. She knows what my 1-1 is, and I know what hers is. So that's her it is. So anyway, One Ring is a good pick. It's not even my number one prop on my list. So listen, you know me. I play from the heart. I don't play strategy.
Play from the heart,
One Ring is strategically the best. Like, obviously a 1-1, but it just wasn't for me. Yeah. I was hoping that was your goal, so I could get, like, if you went ahead of me, but it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you look in some sports, like if you ask someone what their favorite basketball player is, like most of them are not going to say Michael Jordan, but like you're going to have the guy who says, well, objectively, and I hate the whole objective or subjective thing, but in the Lord of the Rings draft, to get the ring 1-1, it seemed like the smart pick. Stacy,
can I tell a funny story?
Yeah, tell.
Well, the ring makes a great fidget. I'm very fidgety all the time, so it's a great fidget little thing.
I could try, but it would make me disappear.
At Comic-Cons, people always have rings, and Sean Astin's always like, why you guys keep bringing this back to me? I tried so hard to get rid of it. Which I always think is really funny. Anyway, that's
PTSD. Malcolm, any thoughts on that pick?
Yeah, the One Ring wasn't actually my number one either. I already have the One Ring, so I don't need to draft it. I just can't find where I put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely wasn't on the forefront of props for me. So
yeah, and just a reminder for some of you who haven't been on this a bunch, we're not going to bring up picks before they happen. Like I wouldn't say I was between the ring and this, and then I went with the ring. Just just create a little suspense. But none of you have done that thus far. I'm just reminding you. So Stacy, you have the second pick. Are you getting your personal 1-1 overall? Was the ring your 1-1 overall? Where's your head at?
No, the prop category, if I got the ring, that would have been fine. It's on my list, but I think it's deeper for me than maybe it is for you guys. For you and Chad. And I think I know what Matt thinks my first pick is going to be, and I think he might get spared because I believe that is a deeper category where I have a lot more options. So my first pick is going to be my Hobbit Sam.
That's my 1-1.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I knew
thought maybe you thought I was picking the quote.
Yeah, I mean, Sam, it's a great pick. Yeah, Stacy, want to
talk only because I have a soft spot in my heart for Frodo because I think he's overlooked, but Sam is the kind of universally beloved hero of the story that, he can't carry Frodo. He can't carry it for Frodo, but he'll carry Frodo. And he makes a great speech that was used so often about the Dark Town. Oh my God, I cannot think. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
When
save
on
the pick,
bridge,
someone might bring it up as their pick. So.
He makes that great speech. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
And you've met him in person, which is really cool.
Yeah, I've met all the hobbits. All the hobbits signed that.
Yes. Matt, I know you are kind of fuming because that was going to be your pick. I knew that was going to be the one you were going for. How do you feel?
I'm deeply sad. Everyone who's watching this, vote for Stacy. Stacy needs to win because she has the best pick off the bat. I don't care what anybody else has. Sam is, I've mentioned this before on this very show. Batman is my favorite fictional character of all time, but 1B is Samwise Gamgee. He's right up there at the same level. Number one, he's the hero of the whole piece. Like, he's not the protagonist. People argue about whether he's the hero. He's not the protagonist. Frodo is obviously the protagonist. But Samwise is the hero of this franchise. And I don't know. There's something about him that I connect to deeply, possibly because like I have always been like a support person for everyone that I love, and that's like an important aspect of my life. And some people will take that for granted, and they will treat you as though you are a sidekick or whatever. But deep down in the heart of a support person like me, we truly can be heroes, and that's always been like a that's always put Sam really, really close to my heart. So Samwise Gamgee's the best. Stacy deserves to win. And now that unpleasantness is over, I'm excited to draft the rest. I was so nervous. I was so like on edge because someone was going to get that pick. Now that you have it, everything's good.
I thought that's what Dylan's first pick was going to be. I thought Sam was the obvious one.
I thought whoever went first was going to pick Sam, and I was going to be sad.
So yeah, we've got an interesting scenario because like you got to think draft versus personal. And I think personal, everyone would be like, I want Sam. But like in this draft, I'm thinking I'd be happy with any of the other hobbits I have on my list of like potentials. Whereas for me, it was like the ring is like the one prop of all of them to rule them all for me. Whereas like Samwise, it was like, if I don't get Sam, I'm happy with my next one. I don't know if anyone's gonna pick my next one. We'll see. Maybe they will.
I was actually thinking the kind of the same thing for like strategy is just because because I know like where Stacy and Matt are coming from, like they're the Lord of the Rings like stands, so they know like all the props. But for me, I'm like, well, that's not as deep. But the Hobbits, like, Sam may be the best of them, but all the Hobbits are pretty great in their own way. So I'd be personally happy with any of them, but I understand like Matt's personal connection with Sam, and I also love Sam. So like if I didn't get the ring and I was second, I would have done the exact same thing Stacy just did.
Yeah. And Matt, he's my 1B as well, Matt. Like my number one is Chewbacca. He's my 1B, like favorite character.
I'm not like gatekeeping him. I wanted him so bad.
But I'm saying in terms of my pick, like it makes sense that I would pick him, but I didn't because 3 of these characters are like in my top 10 favorite characters of all time. So it's like,
and another quick thing, I just love Sean Astin. Like I'm jealous of Stacy. I wish I could have met him because he's not only Sam, but he's Bob from Stranger Things. He's in the Goonies.
He's Mikey from the Goonies.
He was one of my very first crushes. I used to watch the Goonies every single day after school. Every day.
He's just a Paddington, and I just think he's one of the nicest people from what I've seen. And Stacey can probably vouch for it.
In the spirit of draft day, he's also Rudy. Football.
Yes.
He's Rudy. He's Rudy. He's in Encino Man. He's in a little film that I love.
50 First Dates.
Yeah, he's in a little film that I loved called Toy Soldiers, which is not Small Soldiers.
I know Toy Soldiers.
Everybody always thinks I'm talking about Small Soldiers. I'm not. I'm talking about Toy Soldiers, which is about terrorists taking over a high school.
I'm thinking of Small Soldiers.
Yes, you are.
It had a Red Dawn vibe to it a bit.
Yeah, it was like a Red Dawn vibe, but it's Sean Astin and Will Wheaton, and it's
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, so everyone go watch it because it's great.
Yeah.
Malcolm's like, do I get my pick tonight?
I was going to say, Malcolm, any thoughts on Samwise? And then you can also transition into your pick.
I actually quite liked Sean Astin voicing Shazam in the animated Justice League movie War.
There it is.
He also does Hercules in the games, the Final Fantasy Disney games. Why can't I think of
Kingdom Hearts?
Kingdom Hearts. He also does Hercules in Kingdom Hearts.
No way. Cool.
That's right.
Malcolm, you do have the floor though to make your next pick. What would you like to pick?
Like Sam would have been my 1-1 had Stacy not gone before me, but there's a few obvious ones that I'm not going to be upset if I miss. But when it comes to quotes, it's actually one that I'll be disappointed if it does go for me. This one may be one that I could have left for later on, but seeing we're talking about Sam now, let's talk about potatoes. Boil, mash them, stick them in the stew. Look, everyone thought I might have been going for the obvious quote, but this is actually my favorite quote just because it's just one of those ones that you just never expect to pop up, and it's just one that I think in that moment it it kind of brings me to my mind like a lot of chefs that I've seen, like when they're talking about how they do their dishes, like you got this and this and this, and like like I think I'm not too sure. I'm not big. Don't haven't read the books in ages. So I don't know if this one is from the books or not. But it reminds me of the scene from Forrest Gump where Babbitt is talking about different ways to cook shrimp, and this is kind of really reminiscent of that.
Yeah. The shrimp. I can't even list them off. I should.
Yeah.
It's my employment, but I don't know all the list of different shrimps. But yeah, like that scene definitely reminds me of that, and it's just so fun because it's like been memed to death. But like it is actually carrying some narrative weight because it's like him and Gollum butting heads, you know, and that's like a major part in Sam and Frodo's relationship. So I don't think it's just a funny moment or a memorable moment, but I think it actually has some like character impact too. I don't know. Anyone have thoughts on potatoes?
So, is it obnoxious if I take that down and show you the?
Go
So
for it.
I had them write a quote. Each one of the hobbits, when they signed, they wrote a quote, and Sean Austin wrote potatoes.
I
Like,
love that.
But yeah, I'll show
he has to.
Yes, only show us that one quadrant though, because we don't want to spoil the other three quotes in case.
Yeah, because
it's
none of us
huge.
know.
Oh, I see it.
Oh,
That's awesome.
That's
Well,
awesome.
that's huge.
Oh yeah, this is ginormous.
First of all, I would like to say I feel good that Sam was your 1-1 as well, because there was, even if Stacy had, like, there was no chance I was getting Sam, so that's nice. Listen, there's only one way to eat a brace of conies, and you know, no, it's that's an iconic line. Quotes is the deepest for me, and I still haven't chosen a number one yet, so that's a good one. We can mark that one off my list. You're making it easier for me is all that you did there. So excellent choice.
Cool. Chad, any thoughts on potatoes?
I mean, it's hilarious. It's amazing. You know, we all love Sam, and it's just it's just a really funny line. I think it's hilarious and awesome that it's like Malcolm's favorite.
It's also funny because you texted us or sent in a message, a small group of us, a picture of potatoes, and I was like, "Wow, you spoiled your first pick," because I
just ate potatoes. So.
I thought that was you saying, "I got it. You better not take my potatoes."
Ironically, I literally just did as well.
It's also a nice moment of levity as the films start getting darker, which they do start getting, having less and less of those moments of levity. So it's really appreciated.
Yes, I completely agree, and that's really good. And the kind of the central conflict, I mean, other than Helm's Deep in that film is Gollum versus Sam. So like that little moment, even though like every piece of their relationship is fraught with conflict, and I also appreciate that as well. Is that even in that little moment of levity where Sam's talking about something that he loves, it's Sam versus Gollum.
All right,
yeah,
Chad.
Yeah.
Well,
I was just going to add.
And then you can transition in your next pick after that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going to do. I also just love the fact that when he's cooking it up really nice, kind of probably reminding him of home and stuff, and Gollum's just like, "You're ruining it." I think is pretty great.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting here trying to figure out. I think I am going to go with my dialogue. Because that's also not as deep for me as for a lot of other people, because I don't have the movies on repeat all the time and write them down or anything like that. I had two ones that I really like that I'm going to that I was trying to choose between, but I think I am going to go with the more popular one, especially since other people said that it's deeper for them. And I might break Dylan's heart here, and I apologize.
Oh, no.
But I am going to choose my friends, you bow to no one.
Damn it! That was going to be
so
my next
good.
pick. Oh, Chad, you're breaking my heart.
I'm actually really glad you took it because it helps me narrow down my top three.
Yes,
me too.
Yes, me too.
I'm trying to choose between, so take it off the board.
The other one that I have, and it sucks because it's not like super personal to me, but I do think that it is a very fantastic quote, and it really does get to me emotionally when I'm in the moment in that movie. There's another quote in that movie that I almost went with, and I'm interested to see if anybody does pick it. If not, I'll bring it up as an honorable mention because it's another really deep emotional quote. But this one, yeah, it's like, the whole movie, they're basically kind of overlooked the hobbits. And then, when they go and they do all of this stuff to basically vanquish the world from evil, they're the ones bowing, and then everyone else bows to them. And it's just such it frames like the entire, I think, series in like one moment that just says that no matter who you are, you can make a difference, you can be special, and you have value no matter who you are, what you are. So it's a fantastic quote. I know a lot of people love that one, and
I'm also glad that you took it, sort of, just because it's toward the top for me. It's that no matter how many times I've seen it, that line makes me cry every time.
Oh, same, yeah.
And yeah,
no, go ahead. Sorry.
There's you're right. It kind of is the thesis statement for the series, that moment when the king, the titular king from that film, is basically is honoring these people who did not, like, are in their own mind lower station people, and not just
inferior,
that, but like people who don't get into this kind of stuff. Like they are from a people who traditionally do not go on adventures, who are not honored by other people because they just keep to themselves. And then they have this entire kingdom bowing to them. It's a beautiful moment. Another thing I love about that moment is that if you watch each of the hobbits' faces, they're perfect, because Merry and Pippin are both like oh look at us, and Sam is just so taken aback, like the old gaffer would never believe that his son would be here, and Frodo is just kind of like really, like it's like the end. That's like that, like, marks the end of his thing. And so, like, it's a beautiful moment. F anybody who doesn't like those endings. I'll speak more on the endings later, but yeah.
It's just adding one more thing. It is kind of like the so long partner Toy Story 3 moment.
Yep. Oh gosh, Chad,
right?
Make me cry today. Stacy?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I feel like one of the first things people learn about me when they get to know me is that that's like my favorite moment in film. It makes me cry every time. One of the biggest things that gets me in movies is people who have gone unrecognized getting some sort of recognition, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that just, I mean, sometimes I'll just think about it a lot and I'll tear up. Like, it's just so good. It just hits me so hard. And and yeah, like I said, there's 3 quotes, because the other quotes more had to do with like the actual words, and that had more to do with the moment itself.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But
it's a great pick though, Chad.
It is a great pick.
So yeah, Malcolm, any thoughts? Oh, your mic's off. We can't hear you.
Of course. But yeah, I mean, I really like this line. It was definitely one that I did consider at one point, but that being said, it's just a really good line.
Yeah. All right, Matt. Well, you've been saying how much you wanted the picks that we've all taken. So now let's get to a pick that you can actually take. Matt, what would you like to be your first pick? And you're going to get 2 back-to-back. So I'm excited to see.
Here's the thing. Yeah, I do want all the picks you guys took, because here, I always say this, I play from the heart. But this series is so close to my heart that every one of your picks are from my heart. So I want them all. And but now I'm going to pick one for me. And honestly, this is very, very hard, because I've got a list of just stuff I want on my list. And I can only have 5 things. So I am going to, I love Kevin Smith. And I'm going to paraphrase one of his movies here, because he is right that there is only one return. However, it is not of the Jedi. It is not of the Jedi. It is of the King. I'm going to take Aragorn, son of Arathorn,
Okay.
The king of Gondor. Yes, that's to me he is the it's interesting because he is kind of a prototype of a hero as we think of this, especially in fantasy, and like even like things like Dungeons and Dragons, like he is a prototype of that kind of thing, but specifically in the movies, because I love the books as well, but I'm one of those people who, no matter how much I love the books, I will always choose these 3 movies over the books. And one of them being because of the way that they humanized Aragorn, because they do that in the books. J.R.R. Tolkien does that in the books by making him someone who doesn't want the throne, who gets the throne. Like that's, but in this they make him not only more compassionate, they make him just a person for us to root for beyond just, and to help us root for the other people in the film. I love Aragorn, just like I love everyone here. But yes, I am choosing Aragorn.
Yeah, a great pick. Any thoughts on Aragorn? Anyone?
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to elaborate. Yeah, it's just a solid pick. He's the titular character in the third movie. Yeah,
I love Viggo Mortensen in the role.
Yes.
Very different from Green Book. I'll say that.
Number 2 on my list for other heroes. So.
Okay, cool. He was lower on my 5 only because like he was in my top 5, but like he's a little lower because I think some other personalities are more like unique, like what you said, Matt. Like he is more of your prototype kind of noble knight type figure, but again, like you need that in this movie because a lot of the other characters are so unique and out there almost.
Well, a lot of it, this one was hard because there are a lot of like more bigger characters to choose, and I wanted to I'm excited to talk about all of the ones that you guys pick because and I know I'll get to do that. But one thing that's interesting about this is that Stuart Townsend was originally cast as Aragorn.
Oh, okay.
And they started filming with Stuart Townsend in the role, and Peter Jackson goes, he's too young, which is correct.
I was about to say,
and I can't imagine that at all, and I hate the idea. Like, I'm so glad that didn't happen because I don't have a problem with Stuart Townsend, but he is not Aragorn, and I could not see that. Viggo Mortensen's so perfect, and Aragorn's supposed to be like 80. Like he's supposed to be, look young. Oh, yeah, he's supposed to look young, but he is 87. But he's lived a full human life already by this point. So I don't think you would have gotten that out of Stuart Townsend. And I think we saw proof of that in Queen of the Damned, that he isn't playing an old soul very well. Yeah, so I don't think you would have that, but you got that perfectly out of Viggo Mortensen. So,
Malcolm, any thoughts on Aragorn?
But yeah, like it'll be interesting to see what the Stuart Townsend version would have been like. And there's been rumors that apparently Nicolas Cage was considered for a role in Lord of the Rings. A lot of people speculating it was going to be Aragorn. I don't think it is. I don't see Cage as Aragorn at all. But Viggo Mortensen is the perfect choice.
I think Nick Cage improves everything he's in, but I don't know about Lord of the Rings.
It would have been fun to see, like, though, because Aragorn, I think Viggo Mortensen, while he is very opposite of Nick Cage, it almost feels like it's an homage to Nick Cage when he kicks the helmet and in real life broke his toe because of it. Yeah. So maybe that was him channeling his inner Cage. It's a great pick though, Matt. But you get another pick, Matt. You get back-to-back picks. So what are you going to go with for your second pick? Villains has not been touched, by the way, y'all.
Villains has not been touched, but it's hard because I have a top few. I have top few on all these. Honestly, I think I'm gonna go with a Hobbit, and this is.
Oh no.
Here's the thing: there's a Hobbit that I personally like more than this Hobbit, but this is almost me playing strategy, which is something I never do. I'm going to take Frodo. He is obviously the protagonist. He is there. I have a soft spot for him as well. I mean, I love Frodo. I love all of the Hobbits. But I'm gonna take Frodo. I think he's a good pick for the game, and he's the figurehead of this series. So yeah,
interesting. I'll just say right now, I don't know if this is controversial or not, but he was my number 5 Hobbit. Like I love Frodo because it is his story. Like he's the protagonist, yeah. But something about, I mean, this is obviously to play a point to what the ring does to someone, but I kind of find him a little annoying in the third movie because it's consuming him, because he's kind of got that like rage inside of him, and I know that's purposeful, but like I'm hardcore Samwise fan in that third movie that I'm like, Frodo, stop being so mean to him. But I get it; it serves a point. But no, that's a great pick, especially talking strategically. And I'm not trying to trash your pick either because it's a great pick. All of the Hobbits on my list are great picks. It's just
I'm leaving.
Oh, sorry, Matt. I'm not going to remove you though because I want to keep this going. But no, that's my hot take, I guess, of the day. I don't have many, but that was my one. Is that I don't think Frodo is my favorite Hobbit. But
I had a really hard time choosing between Sam and Frodo because I think Frodo is very underappreciated. That I think if you watch the movies in a row and see the journey he takes and where he starts to where he ends up and how much the weight of that ring, that he didn't even want to have that burden. He only did it because nobody else really could. No one was suitable to do it. And you just see that, and everyone gets so down. Like you said, he gets annoying, he gets angry, but he's not eating, he's not sleeping. He's trying to mediate between Gollum and Sam. Like, the dude should be grouchy. Like, I don't blame him. Go ahead, Chad.
Yeah. I didn't want to interrupt. I want to kind of add to what you're saying is like one of my favorite moments in the entire trilogy is actually with Frodo, and it's the very, very end when he decides that he's no longer not welcome there, but he's no longer of that plane and he wants to move on. Like he's done his thing and it's now Sam's turn and all that stuff. And the moment when he just like, he's content with his decision and he turns back and just smiles at them. And it's just like that right moment right there. I just love that so much because they're all sad and just crying and he's just got that big smile on his face. And it's, I don't know, it's just a beautiful moment. So Frodo's a good character.
And to also kind of piggyback off that, it's Frodo. You actually all covered it. Like he's the one who he takes up the mantle, like when he is the only one who can. And there's something really romantic about that idea of this one person who can do this job and who is willing to do it even though they don't want to. I love that. Also, Sam and Frodo's relationship is beautiful, and I love it. And I don't know if you guys know this, but after Rosie dies, Sam goes to live in the Undying Lands with Frodo.
Cute.
That's
we love it. I was about to make a joke and say everyone's just friends, but no one needs to know. No one needs to know. It's their own special bond.
I would argue that it's in the text that J.R.R. Tolkien writes that they're not just friends, but that we can go over that later.
No judgment because it is.
I mean, it's one of the. I mean,
hour in, it just started round 2.
And before I do my next pick, I just want to add Sam is the Paddington, but I think Frodo's another Paddington almost to a fault, to where he will even not even see Gollum's faults and he'll like give him a second chance and spare his life. And I think that's also a great moment too. But so I'll move on to my next thing, right, Dyl? Okay, cool.
Go ahead.
So
I love this. Keep it going.
Yeah, my villains are deep. I can pick from a few. In the Hobbits, there is one that if I didn't get Sam, I was gonna pick, but that's also deep. There's 5 of them that you can pick from that you'd be happy with, I think. So I'm gonna go with my non-Hobbit hero. because I'm still trying to figure out what my prop's gonna be. And I'm just gonna
It's
pick.
deep in the encyclopedia.
I'm gonna go with probably the obvious one. I'll go with Gandalf.
Cool.
And the reason why is because I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Gandalf. I think a lot of the time, and Dyl knows this, but I think oftentimes he pisses me off because he can be an asshole, especially to another Hobbit that hasn't been picked yet. A lot of the times, but then he'll go and he'll have some of the deepest quotes and moments that you've ever seen, and it's just he's just so wise. And I, being the Harry Potter guy, I'll always choose Dumbledore over Gandalf. I know that's heresy, but Gandalf is such a really fantastic, complex character. I love the fact that he's so powerful that he has to not even touch that damn ring because he'll go off or something. So he's just a really great, complex, powerful character with a lot of wisdom. And when I'm saying he's complex, I mean he's not perfect. He has flaws. He treats one of the hobbits pretty poorly, I think, a lot of the times. And I don't like that, but it is a great character.
And if we're talking about this as a franchise, not just a trilogy, he is the only person who has a significant role to play in all 6 films, which I think is a lot to say as well. Because if you're looking at both trilogies, we haven't really brought up The Hobbit much, but he's a consistent presence in all of them. I guess one other one too, but I won't bring he or her up. Any thoughts on Gandalf? Anyone?
He was my first pick for
mine as well.
hero. That would be my next pick.
He was number 2 on my list, obviously, after Aragorn. I love Gandalf. I think Mithrandir. I think that he is. I think that he is complicated, but I think there's something that needs to be considered about that, which is that he is not. Yes, he's walked Middle Earth for many lives of men, but he is not from Middle Earth. He is a Maiar. And his thinking, to understand Gandalf, just think that whatever you are thinking or saying, Gandalf assumes that it is lower than his ways. And that's kind of where he stands. Yes, but to have somebody who feels that way and who arguably is godlike, the wizards are not human. They aren't from the Middle Earth. They were sent here. To have somebody who thinks that way, who in all ways basically is their ways are higher than your ways, to have them intervene on at such a micro level, especially when you consider The Hobbit, because on Lord of the Rings, eventually, yes, that becomes saving Middle Earth, but on The Hobbit, he is literally his goal there in The Hobbit is to get Bilbo to go on an adventure. And there's a magical thing about him is that in every book, his job basically is to show up, tell people to do things, and then leave. And he does that about 12 times in the Hobbit book. But that's basically whether he's dying or just I'm going to go get some people and come back, or I'm going to go do some studying and come back. That's what he does. But that's because his brain doesn't work on the same level as everyone else's because he is godlike.
Yeah. Malcolm, any thoughts on Gandalf?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why when Richard Harris passed away, everyone was wanting Ian McKellen to take over as Dumbledore just because of how similar. And I think they did ask him, but I think Ian McKellen didn't want to because of the fact they're so similar to Dumbledore. But yeah. Yeah, Gandalf is probably my number 2. My number 1 non-Hobbit hero hasn't been taken yet. So,
gotcha. Well, it is your pick, Malcolm. So you're welcome to segue that to your number 1 non-Hobbit hero, or you're welcome to pick from a different category.
I'm going to go for a different category. I'm going to go for a villain because, like Dylan said at the start, the One Ring is the obvious 1-1, but there's another obvious 1-1 there. And if it wasn't for this villain, the One Ring would not have existed in the first place, and that's Sauron.
Yep, that's a good pick.
And like Sauron is just one of those villains that's just really intriguing. Like he doesn't get into the battles much. Like he sends his lackeys out, and that he just spends a lot of time just watching. But it's just one of those villains that's also compelling for that same reason. The one that just sort of sits behind, like hangs out behind the throne room or whatnot, and just doesn't do a lot. But pretty much like Emperor Palpatine in a way until he decides he wants to get really involved. But yeah, just one of those ones. Like if it wasn't for Sauron, like Lord of the Rings wouldn't have existed in the first place.
That's a very.
I mean, he is the titular Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Literally.
True. Yeah, that pick. I never actually thought about that. Like who the Lord itself was.
Well, because Gandalf. I hope nobody takes this quote, but Gandalf says in the thing, there is one Lord of the Ring and he does not share power.
Gotcha. Well, I need to rewatch because I forgot about that quote, but that's awesome. Yeah, that's a great pick. Anyone else have thoughts on Sauron?
Yeah, it seems like the mic drop villain of the night. But I didn't have him higher up because I was sitting there thinking about it. I was like, since he is like the big mic drop, he is the one like the Palpatine, like kind of the puppeteer of everything. I'm like, it also kind of makes him in some ways not as interesting. Like he's kind of, I don't know, not killed, but he's like defeated at the very beginning of the trilogy. And then you just see his eye the whole time. He's not really present, even though he is present. So yeah, I don't think I would have picked him number one, but I do not blame Malcolm for taking him because he's badass.
Yeah, I'm along your wavelength. Like it wasn't top of the list for me, but I think it is like if we're looking at like notoriety in the series and the influence of events, like he's probably the most reasonable villain to take 1-1 overall for villains. But this is a very deep draft. There's a lot of picks. Any thoughts, Matt, on Sauron?
Strategically, that's a good pick. Like that's the right pick strategically. I thought that might be somebody's 1-1. Like I didn't know like what anybody's 1-1, but I thought the Ring or Sauron might be somebody's 1-1.
Chad just put on the Ring and disappeared. I'm just
kidding.
God. Oh, there he is.
But no, yeah, Sauron. He's the titular. He is the title character in this film or in this series.
In the voice of Beanie Feldstein and Lady Bird. It's the titular role.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. He is lower on mine. He is the right answer. He is lower on mine, but mostly just because there's no personality. Like he doesn't that character doesn't connect with me because he's kind of a monolith. Like he's kind of a construct.
They should have made him sing a song like they do in the Hobbit.
Yeah,
all the villains in the Hobbit Unexpected Journey sing songs, so they should have had him
exactly. So no, so it's a great pick. It's a great pick.
Yeah. Stacy, any thoughts on that? And we can segue right into your pick, which is pick 4.
Yeah, I'll segue into my pick because I'm gonna also pick a villain. Oh, no. Mostly not because I'm like I need to have this villain, but because I think my other picks are safer for a while. Sauron, he's the Lord of the Rings. He was my top villain pick, but it was very close with my second pick, who I think is an actual more menacing presence, who is Saruman. And
very good pick. Very good pick.
I think especially in Fellowship, when Gandalf is going to seek his counsel and get his help, and he's the big wizard, and he's going to be our hope, and he's going to know what to do, and then he turns, and you're like, oh shit, what the fuck do we do now? Like, and they have that great battle, and I mean, I think he gets forgotten about not really being in Return of the King, but for those first 2 movies, I mean, he's scary. He's a very menacing presence, and tears down all the trees and starts growing orcs in the ground. Come on.
He's great. Christopher Lee is unmatched. He is so
good.
He is so good in that.
Why did they cut
the Uruk-hai?
Why did they cut his death from the third movie? I just never understood it. It's like my
I
big
think a
complaint about
time
Return of the
thing.
King.
Because
It's
yeah,
2
I think,
minutes. The movie's already so long.
but I think
Yeah.
that at that point you got a pacing issue. Like you
Yeah.
don't want to stop for this thing because he was already defeated in the last film. Like that's basically
And
like
it's not
Yeah.
where he dies in the books, so they wouldn't have that backlash of like
Right.
not
Okay,
having the book
okay.
death. Like
right. So yeah, Christopher Lee is unmatched. Also, one thing I really love it, just as a Tolkien guy, is that that most of the history moments in that film he gets to say. I mean, they're usually history of something dark and sinister, but he gets to stand over the Uruk-hai being made and go, "Did you know orcs were once elves?" You know, like it's I love that he gets to be like the one little bit of history that we get in of the Middle Earth in those movies. But yeah, he's amazing. He is menacing. The fact that he shows up and or that Gandalf shows up and like Gandalf's supposed to be like our big wizard guy and just gets stomped by Saruman immediately, like makes him break dance with his head spin. He's amazing. He's just a great villain. He's obviously on my list. He's wonderful.
I just want to add, like, and when Gimli, Legolas, and Aragorn come across Gandalf in the woods in the Two Towers, and they at first think it's Saruman. I mean, they're scared shitless. They're like, "Don't let him talk. Don't let if those three are scared of him, he's a scary dude.
Oh yeah,
good villain."
Yeah, that was a good point. Any other thoughts on Saruman, Malcolm?
Yeah, I mean, Sauron would have been my number 2 if Sauron had gone earlier. And yeah, it's one of those ones. I was just reading up about like it originally, like Peter Jackson sort of cut it because it was originally filmed for Lord of the Rings, for Two Towers to end it, but he didn't think it worked there, so they moved it to the start there. Then he made the decision to cut it because it got sort of Return of the Kings off to an uncertain sort of narrative, because Saruman plays no other role throughout that movie, so
right.
he decided to cut it and just save it for the extended editions in that. So
yeah.
And I just want to add, I like how different the dark magic is in this franchise as opposed to like the Wizarding World, because like Saruman, doesn't he like legitimately possess that one dude?
Yeah.
And it's like really, really creepy. And it's like you're watching The Exorcist.
Stephen King. That's a wonderful scene. Yeah, it's really
It is
great.
a great scene.
Now we're on to my pick, ending on round 2, and honestly, this is tough because I've got like so many great quotes, so many great non-hobbit heroes still teetering around there. I already took my prop, so I think I'm gonna go villain because I think that's now the most shallow category, because there are a lot of villains, but there are not a lot of like heavy hitting villains. And when we talked earlier, Samwise Gamgee is like one of my favorite characters of all time, but I had to think about like one of my other favorite just presences in film. If anyone watched Picture This, you probably know who I'm picking. I'm picking Gollum.
I do.
Yeah, I'm picking Gollum. He could have been my Hobbit or my villain. I'm choosing to keep him as my villain because also, he's gone through such a transformation. I wouldn't consider him a Hobbit first and foremost. I consider him a villain first and foremost. He is obviously a villain. Yes, there's that conflicted side of him that is good, the Smeagol side of him creeping in. But even then, I mean, it's still we have only seen Gollum in an antagonistic way. So even in his better moments, he's still evil. And you guys could veto it if you want, if you consider him more of a hero. But I still think he's a villain and a great villain. Honestly, this was my 1-1 villain. And that's why I'm picking him, because I think, I have my 1-1 villain there. I just think he is the most interesting character, as much as Saruman and Sauron might be better presences and more villainous presences. I mean, Gollum is ultimately like, in terms of like the main storyline of Frodo, he's one of the main antagonists in Frodo's specific journey. So, Stacy, do you have anything to say there?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of kicking myself because my daughter is a huge Gollum fan, and she's also a huge Gollum defender. So he did not even come to mind for me for villains. But I should have picked him. Like,
defender as in like he's a good guy, or defender as in like he's
like he's not a villain. Like, not that he's necessarily good, but she would
Yeah.
definitely not consider him a villain.
Yeah, because he's overshadowed. He's blinded by the ring.
Right.
But the difference with him and Frodo is that we've seen Frodo at the good times, and then we see him transition into the darker side of Frodo. We've never kind of seen the good side of Gollum except for the very beginning of Return of the King.
Well, I mean,
he's more tragic and empathetic, and like you have more empathy for him than
that's what makes a good villain. Yeah.
Well, he's
Good. I was just gonna say, don't you have like sympathy for Smeagol, and then Gollum kind of takes Smeagol over or like corrupts him?
Right.
This actually brings me into the point that I was going to make here, which is that he's a sympathetic villain. I think he's a villain, and I don't think that even the darkest form of Frodo, which is just him saying, no, I'm not going to destroy the ring, is not close to what the duplicitous Gollum does. I think he's sympathetic, and I think I would entertain an argument that says that he's not a villain. I would veto anybody who used him as a hero, though. I did promise that I wouldn't.
When I said Hobbit, it doesn't necessarily specify hero. It's more of the other category being a non-Hobbit hero.
I know. Well, here's the thing. He is. We had chatted about this where I wasn't going to veto someone using him as a Hobbit, but technically he was like a Hobbit and not a Hobbit. So, but that's not the point. The point is, I think that Smeagol, yes, you have sympathy when he is being Smeagol, but Smeagol and Gollum are not separate. They are not different characters. They are the same character. He's being duplicitous. And yes, there is a part of him that wants to have those friends, and that's how he is representing that to himself as Smeagol. But in the end, Smeagol is the one that betrays the other hobbits. Smeagol is Gollum, and that is just the front he puts on when he is trying to be a better person. I will say he is trying to be better when he is being Smeagol, but eventually Smeagol is like it goes all in and wants and even as he is talking to himself, both sides are being duplicitous. So he is a villain. And he's a great villain.
I'm not saying he's not a villain. I'm just saying that I've heard that for years. From my daughter. She also defends Jaws as just a hungry shark. Okay, she's a big
Well, I mean,
that I agree with. That I agree with.
I don't think there's any. I don't think he woke up that morning when I'm gonna fuck shit up. He was just probably like, no. I'm hungry. I need some food.
Yeah.
And, oh look, legs.
Gollum is a great pick. I think it's
Malcolm.
It's a great pick.
Yeah, I mean, ironically, it's Gollum's greed which ends up saving the day in the end. When you think about it, but I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm surprised Gollum didn't go in the first round. This is one of those. This is what I mean. This is the one I thought was going to be your 1-1, Dylan. I
do love
because I for me, I struggled with Gollum's. I was like, do I pick him for Hobbit? Do I pick him for villain? Because I'm one of those ones like I don't see him I see him more as an anti-hero than a villain. But it's just one of those ones. And just a sidetrack, the Easter eggs on the extensions are fun, and I really like the speech that they had Gollum do for the MTV Movie Awards award for best villain, which just sort of stealing the popcorn out of Andy Serkis's hand, then just yelling like doing his whole speech, and then it's like they actually have Gollum go, fuck Dobby, because Dobby was nominated the same year. It was just a lot of fun.
All 3 years, they did really great Lord of the Rings stuff at the MTV Movie Awards. If you haven't seen it, watch the Jack Black, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Lord of the Rings thing from MTV Movies Awards.
He did Spider-Man too.
It's almost like they used to care about the integrity of the art nominated rather than celebrity wow factor. But that's just me.
I mean, I miss when that MTV movie was the movie parodies in the first. I don't think they do them anymore.
No, that show's gone downhill. But so have most shows, honestly. Most like awards shows. Round 3, pick one. Oh, okay. See, the highest Hobbit on my. I'm just gonna give away my hand here if I say it. I was gonna wait to get this guy in round 4, but I don't know about Stacy, Chad, and Matt, but I know Malcolm likes the Hobbit films. so I didn't want to risk losing him because I have 8 picks between. For me, I'm picking Bilbo because Bilbo to me is like he's. I love Frodo and Bilbo, but I think because Bilbo is more of like the sole focal point of the Hobbit movies, like the Lord of the Rings movies, it bounces back and forth to other storylines. Like you have a whole storyline with the other 2 hobbits and the Ents, and you have the storyline with Aragorn and Gimli and Gandalf and all them. But like this first trilogy, it's all Bilbo, and his character arc is so amazing because he kind of succumbs to some of that darkness, but he always kind of has the what is it called? The self-control to kind of hold back. And I love the fact that he's just this kid, not this kid, but this young, small hobbit, not young either, but this small, unassuming presence from this hobbit shire. And he goes on this long journey. And I think it's almost more endearing to see him and his growth than even Frodo's, because Frodo, it's almost like he's doing what Bilbo has already done. We know a hobbit has been able to do it. Here, it's like, but Bilbo's quest and adventure was rather dark too. And he survived some crazy stuff, including coming face to face with a literal dragon and just dealing with all the dwarves and the elves and all that stuff. Like, I really love Bilbo's arc in those movies. And I think Martin Freeman, of all the performances, I mean, I have Andy Serkis as Gollum and Martin Freeman as Bilbo. I'm very happy with that back to back because I think those are 2 of my favorite performances, just performance wise in the franchise. I just love what Martin Freeman brings to Bilbo. I'm a big defender of the Hobbit movies. I love them. I think I've only seen the extendeds and the clips I've seen of the theatrical cuts because I never watched them in theaters, but the clips I've seen, I honestly get why they got bad reviews because I think they're very choppily edited. But the extended editions, while of course it is long and it's like, why did we need to drag this small children's book into 3 movies? The fact that it is long, I mean, it's going to be long either way. So the fact that the extended editions just flow better and don't have as choppy of an editing nature, I actually really like them. I find them very fun to watch. Even though the third one's just a battle, I mean, it's in the name. It's the Battle of the 5 Armies. So yeah, it's going to be a battle, and I'm fine with that. And I really just love Bilbo. I think his character arc is great. I just love all those characters. I think they're all underrated characters because we all think about the Lord of the Rings ones. But I wanted to get some Hobbit representation, and he does have a lot of great stuff in Lord of the Rings as well. I mean, he's the older, more, I've seen some shit type of figure, like the old man Logan of that trilogy, but I really do love him. And I'm happy to get him here. I almost saved him for round 4, but I didn't know if anyone was going to snatch him. And I'd rather let my non-Hobbit hero go to get my favorite Hobbit remaining. So
I was going to ask you who you putting on that graphic, but I think you pretty much
I'm
putting
Martin Freeman because
if I had landed with
Bilbo
him
in this franchise, I'm thinking Martin Freeman. If we're gonna go Lord of the Rings solely, I wouldn't have picked Bilbo, but I'm picking him because of his Hobbit arc.
If I had been, like if I had been stuck with him or something, not stuck because I love him, but if I had ended up with him, I would have chosen Ian Holm because to me that's Bilbo.
Still great.
Like they're both great. I just reread The Hobbit just 2 weeks ago. Just because I was in a Tolkien mood because of this, I was excited for it. I understand why they made it into 3 movies because there are so many things that happen in that book. It's very condensed. Because famously, like Tolkien he doesn't go into great detail when it comes to battles and stuff like that. Like he's just like, and then they had a battle, and that was and so like I get why you extend them out. I don't think the Hobbit movies are bad. They're just not up to Lord of the Rings for me. But
yeah, and I agree with that.
Yeah, so I see why they put it into 3 movies. So I've never been one of those people who are like, why would you do that? Because a lot happens in that book, even though it's a short book. A lot happens that just isn't expanded on, and there's a lot you can expand on. Bilbo's a great choice.
Yeah, Malcolm, I think your mic's off. What were you trying to say? Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all right. But yeah, Bilbo was going to be my number 1 Hobbit. It was literally going to be it was literally my next.
I made the right choice, because I was worried about you, Malcolm. I was like, if Malcolm picks this, I'm going to be so mad because I did want another non-Hobbit hero, but I was like, if I miss Bilbo and Malcolm picks him next, I'm going to regret it forever. So
yeah, look. Just to defend the Hobbit movies a little bit, because I am a big defender of the Hobbit movies. Like, they're good movies. They get shit on a lot. originally it was going to be Guillermo del Toro directing them, and it was going to be 2 movies. I don't know when they made the decision to stretch it out into 3, but it was one of those ones that I think Peter Jackson was kind of shoehorned in to direct them after Del Toro left. So I think it's one of those ones like, well, I know Peter Jackson loves his Lord of the Rings. I think it's just one of those just like he didn't really want to direct them. I think he wanted to stay on as producer and writer, but I think part of that might have sort of bled into sort of why the quality isn't as high as Lord of the Rings, just because like Peter Jackson was doing them because he felt like he had to, as opposed not because he really wanted to.
Yeah, it was like obligation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also just the visual CGI at the time too. It's just a different tone and different style because you have so much different technology where it's almost hurts the film at times because it's like there's something about the practicalness of some of the Lord of the Rings effects that I actually like more. But then some of those effects seem dated, and a lot of the Hobbit ones do seem good. So it's a mix.
The fact is, you can't expect him to make a perfect trilogy twice. Like that's just the truth. Exactly. Lightning isn't going to strike twice. Like he made a good trilogy and he made a perfect trilogy. Like there's
Chad, what are your thoughts?
Like, well, I was just going to say, like, I actually kind of do think it would have worked more as like a 2 movies, just kind of like how they did with Deathly Hallows, split it up into 2, and then you can actually take your time and do stuff, but like not force a 3rd one. That's I'm not saying they did it just for money reasons or anything like that. Maybe, but like, kind of like, stretching it out. But anyways, I've only seen them once. I really owe them another watch, but Bilbo was actually my number 5. And it's just because I don't think there's a bad pick with the Hobbit. They're all great in their own way. I love that that's your favorite, and I would not have been mad
behind Sam.
That's what I meant.
He's my number 2,
and I would not have been mad if I would have ended up with Bilbo. So that's why I was just kind of waiting to pick a Hobbit. But Martin Freeman's great in that role.
Stacy, I know you have 4 signatures behind you, but you don't have the 5th. What do you think about Bilbo being kind of like the odd? Because he's kind of the odd one out of all the hobbits because he's not in the Fellowship. He's kind of a tangential.
Bilbo was my 3rd pick for Hobbit.
Oh, cool.
Mostly because of Martin Freeman in the Hobbit trilogy, which I don't love them like I love Lord of the Rings, but I certainly don't hate them and think they're horrible by any means. I can watch them. Can I watch them as much? No, but I can certainly sit down and watch them. And Ian Holm is great in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. He's just not in it as enough, really, for me to pick Bilbo based on that alone. But I think Bilbo's a great pick.
Well, you've already had your Hobbit, and you've already gotten your villain. So, Stacy, you're next with either your quote, your prop, or your non-Hobbit hero. What would you like?
So, I think that my non-Hobbit hero probably would be safe to get back to me, but I also like the other 2 categories I have left narrowed down a bit. So I'm going to go with my non-Hobbit hero, and he's actually tied with Gandalf as my favorite, and that is Legolas.
Okay,
which
great pick. Another one who is very present in the Hobbit movies. Yeah.
Pretty sure that he was not that high on anybody else's list, but he's just so fucking cool. I mean, come on. He's just so damn cool. I don't know. I love him. I love his friendship with Gimli. I know most people that love that friendship love Gimli more because Gimli's the funny one, but I go for the cool dude. Okay, I'm a girl. Gets me that way.
He has a beautiful hair.
He has the beautiful hair. Although under that was Orlando Bloom's mohawk, which I actually prefer. But anyway, him and Gimli's friendship is one of my favorite parts of the entire series, in the books and in the movies. I'm glad they kept some of that in the movies as much as they could, especially like I remember some people saying after 2 Towers that they thought the counting thing was dumb. And I was like, no, the counting thing is straight from the books and awesome.
From the books,
and I'm so glad they kept it because it shows how they banter with each other.
Yeah, and it makes Helm's Deep not just like a battle, but like an actual character. Like it has character moments. It has like fun dialogue. Like it's just more action of characters more so than it is action fighting.
And I believe they extended it a lot more in the extended editions.
A bit, yeah, they did. They did extend it more. And his relationship with Aragorn goes back way, obviously, the end of the Hobbit movies. that's
Mhm.
he's going to find him. That goes back a lot further, and you can kind of see that with them without it having to be spoken a lot. He doesn't have a bunch of great lines and a bunch of screen time, but like his presence in the background is often so, I don't want to say comical because it's not meant to be comical. It's just his expressions in the background of things, I don't know, just always kind of perfectly encapsulate the feelings that you're supposed to be feeling. And if it's probably not going to be said, but I won't say it, one of my favorite lines, it'll probably be an honorable mention, is a him and Gimli line as
We'll
well.
talk about
I have one on my list, so
It might be that one.
Yeah.
I don't think that'll end up being the one I pick, but it was definitely a high contender. Yeah, and so like I mean, he
Yeah,
rides that
you said
shield
it
down
all.
the steps like.
I was gonna say that's my favorite one. The skateboard shield is the coolest.
Yeah.
one
I
ever.
actually prefer him riding the Mumakil down, like the Oliphant,
Yeah.
down the Oliphant trunk, and then Gimli.
Pineapple.
That
Only counts as
still
one.
counts as one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it.
It is a great moment.
Okay, so Legolas is on my list. Gimli is above him, but honestly, it's hard. That's hard for me because similar to the way you and I kind of see those movies as one, I see them as one. Like they are a character together. Like it's hard to separate them because
Timon and Pumbaa.
their friendship
exactly.
is so good. And when I tell people, like when I talk, because I'm obviously a big Tolkien fan, and when I'm talking to people about these things, people are often surprised that their friendship is from the books because it kind of feels like something more modern, like something that you put in to add levity to the movies, but it's not. It's from the books, and it's beautiful, and it's magical. And Gimli and Legolas are just wonderful. And yeah, Legolas is great. He's the coolest person in this series. Yeah. Also, I'm a big fan of archers in general. I like bows and arrows. That's my favorite weapon. So
Cool. I didn't know anyone. I mean, yeah, I guess everyone has a favorite weapon. I've never really thought of mine in this day and age. I'm just messing with you. Malcolm, any thoughts on Legolas?
Yeah, I mean, Legolas was quite up there on my list. But yeah, I like him. I think he's cool, and I think the Hobbit actually makes him cooler in a way. It's like, because I mean, I quite like Legolas's relationship with Evangeline Lilly.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it now, but
She's not in the books. Let me get her name.
yeah, I think it's Toriel or something like that.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is
sounds right.
Turiel.
That sounds right. See, Malcolm just won a trivia geek match.
Yeah.
Chad,
And I agree.
Chad,
I do like
any
the
thoughts
relationship
on
as well.
Legolas?
Yeah, no, I mean, my hot take is I just find the elves all kind of bland in the movies. They don't really have much like emotion, and or at least
You're not watching
shown
those
in.
background faces.
And
facial
I also
expressions.
just find like Orlando Bloom just kind of like bland himself, specifically. Like even in the Pirates movies, I'm like just kind of there. So, but I mean, good pick if you love him. I don't know. Like this is just not my.
I mean,
my
he's
thing.
dating Katy, or he's married to Katy Perry now, so maybe that gave him a little bit more personality because she's
Maybe.
almost the opposite. She's a little too much at times.
That's
I
the
don't know
main
if
reason I didn't pick Legolas. I'm jealous of Orlando Bloom for dating Katy Perry.
That's great. Oh, I love that. Malcolm, what would you like as your next pick? You've already picked your villain and your quote. You still have your prop, your hobbit, and your non-hobbit on the board.
Yeah, because I'm torn because I want to. There's one or two ways I want to go because I'm worried my non-hobbit hero is going to be taken.
Just for clarification, you and I are the only two who have not chosen our non-hobbit heroes. Matt, Stacy, and Chad all have. So
that actually makes it a lot easier for me because because
I didn't want you to lose on strategy points because I know this is your first time. So
because when it comes to the hobbits, there's really only two realistically left, and I'm going for my favorite of the two, and that is the Lost Hobbit, Merry.
oh, nice.
Played by Dominic Monaghan, of course. hence the Lost reference. But yeah, look, Mary's just one of those ones that like he him and Pippin essentially get dragged along on this journey because they're out hiding with Frodo and Sam. Like they didn't really want to do this, but they ended up just being dragged along and then sneaking into the Council of Elrond and all that. But yeah, like Mary's been one of those ones because like especially when him and Pippin get separated in I think they start getting separated in Two Towers, and then, well, actually, no, I think it's Return of the King when they finally completely get separated. But there's Pippin decides he wants to look at the Palantir and ruin all that. But Mary like hangs around Rohan. He doesn't really get much to do, but when Eowyn dragged because he really wants to go out and help fight, but it's like he's been told no. But yet, like Eowyn sort of takes him along with him, and he ends up sort of helping to kill people, like just getting into the battles. Like he's one of those ones he always wants to get out there and fight, but he just keeps getting told no. So I mean, just wanting to get out in there and do something is just part of why I like him a lot, because it's just reminds me a lot of myself. Like there's been so many times I've seen people posting things like I just really want to get into there and do something but is it just
It's a great mentality. They're all underdogs, all the hobbits, but he even more so. He's like the most of the underdog in the fact that he is I feel like almost overshadowed. I feel like a lot of the other hobbits just get bigger storylines, even between him and his counterpart. Pippin, I feel like, gets more of an arc in the third movie because of the darkness of that ball and Gandalf and all that stuff. I feel like Merry sometimes gets the short end of the stick, but that's what makes him endearing, is because he's always there and he's always loyal. He's always a hard fighter, worker, great positive energy. I mean, they're all Paddingtons, as Chad put it, all the hobbits, but especially Merry, all of them really. I like the pick.
I'm actually going to disagree with you guys on that. He is kind of overlooked, only because maybe overlooked. But here's the thing about Mary, and I love Mary. Obviously, I love them all. I should stop saying I love things because I love it all of this. But
I love Sauron.
Here's a big thing. My second favorite Hobbit, which I didn't choose as my Hobbit, has not been picked yet. So that's weird. Anyway, Mary has heroic moments in each movie. In Two Towers, he's the one that convinces the Ents to join because they were like, no, we're not gonna do it. But you're part of this world, and then he convinces them to go toward Isengard to see what's going on, and then in the Return of the King, and this is kind of where I disagree that his part is overshadowed by Pippin's, because he and Eowyn pick up the sword and they actually get to go out and battle. They are the ones that prove that you don't have to be what everybody thinks you should be in order to be part of this. And he is the one that hobbles the Witch King so that Eowyn can kill him. I really like. Merry is a hero. He's great. Also in the books, he is Frodo's realtor. And you don't get that in the movies.
Wait, does Frodo not live with Bilbo?
He does, but there's a much larger gap between.
Yeah, we can talk about it later.
There's a much larger gap between when Bilbo leaves and when Frodo leaves for the thing.
Gotcha.
17 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say Gandalf is reading books for 17 years.
17 years.
That's the ring.
And then once Frodo's going to take the ring to Rivendell, he has to sell. He sells Hobbit, or what's the name of his freaking, anyway. He sells his house. Bag End. I was like, Hobbit is not right. What am I doing? Bag End. He sells Bag End, and Mary is the one who sells it for him, and then finds him a house elsewhere to live in. Like, he's also his friend, but he is his realtor.
They're distant cousins too. Him, Mary, and Pippin are all like distant cousins. Sam's the odd guy out. He's not related.
Look at all that. Oh, and the Giants just scored a first down. Sorry, football's on as well. Round 3, pick 4, Chad. You're on the clock. You've already picked your non-hobbit hero. You already picked your quote. So you still got your hobbit, your prop, and of course your villain out there. What would you like to pick?
Yeah. Well, I'll go with villain because I'm the only one that hasn't picked a hobbit, so I can just wait until the end for that. And prop, there's a couple that I'm still thinking over, but my villain, the one that I actually put number 1, I think is one of the coolest villains, and no one has picked him. And you also wanted to get some hobbit representation.
Yes.
Picking Smaug.
Yeah, another titular villain. That was like gonna be like if I didn't get Gollum, that was my number 2 because I love Smaug. Talk about it, Chad.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know a ton about Smaug, but I know that like he was one of the best parts, in my opinion, of that trilogy. I think if you didn't have him, it would be a far weaker trilogy. Well, I mean, I think he's only just in the one movie, right? But it's still.
Well, I don't like how they do this. He's in the second one, but the second one ends with him like flying to attack Lake Town, and then the very first 5 minutes of Battle of the Five Armies is him defeating Lake Town, but then getting killed. So he's killed off in the first 5 minutes of the third movie, which I just wish they had just ended it with his death in the second movie. I think that's a bad choice. But maybe they just want to keep you coming back to the theater, so they left it on a cliffhanger. But he's mostly in the second one, and he's in like a little second of the third one.
Yeah. Thanks for the correction because I just haven't seen the movies in a while.
No,
but
it's a fair assessment for you to think he's only in the second one because he's barely in the third one, and I think that's one of the dumbest mistakes because he's such a good character.
In that second movie, though, he's really badass. It's just he's legitimately scary. I think Benedict Cumberbatch like really knocked it out of the park with his mocap, stuff that he did. The voice, you watch him acting this out with the suit on, and it's amazing. I think Benedict is a super great actor. But yeah, just him having that deep voice, and it's like not for nothing. Because I remember seeing him as Sherlock, and he had this deep voice, and I'm like, wow, okay. And then he used it for great effect with that with Smaug, and I just love how like is just a big badass dragon, kind of lording over some treasure, and just so happens there's something they need in there, and he's just super, super imposing and scary. And that's, I think, what a lot of the times dragons should be. And, it's just amazing. So
I'm glad you brought him up. Yeah.
He's the one that I had at the top of my list because I went, you know what? I don't know how many people are going to like try to pick Smaug because they'll probably go for the Saurons or the Saruman's or I briefly thought of Gollum, and I'm glad I didn't take him from you, but he was up there as well.
No, it's a great pick. I'm glad it came out because I didn't know how Hobbit heavy this would be, and if anyone would even bat an eye at them. So I'm very happy. Anyone thoughts on Smaug?
Back in my day, we called him Smog. I think that's. I don't remember if that's what they call him in the Rankin Bass Hobbit movie, but for most of my life, he was called Smog, and then one day we all just started calling him Smaug, and it's weird.
That is correct.
Yeah,
we're gonna be starting to call those animals dogs now. Like I got a little pet dog.
There's a U in his name, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but that can make the
phonetically, I can see why you pronounce it. I get it, but
last month was August.
Yeah. Anyway,
classic.
Yeah, he's really cool. That's really it. I really just want to talk about Smog. So go. Yeah, he's good. Good pick.
Yeah. Anyone else? Malcolm?
I think it's a really good pick. I love him. He's a great dragon.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
He's a good boy. He's not a good boy.
He's not.
That's okay.
Oh, good smell.
Yeah, I mean,
I still let him be my pet dragon.
Yeah, I mean, Smaug or Smog, however he's pronounced. Like he was my number 2 villain as well. It's one of those ones that I think is just really sort of he's like very imposing at the same time as just, and I think that's mostly because of Benedict Cumberbatch's voice. I think there's a reason they got Benedict Cumberbatch to voice Smaug as well as the Necromancer in one of the other Hobbit movies.
Yeah.
Just that voice. And I'm not gonna, like, every time I watch Doctor Strange, like I keep thinking, like, imagine if Smaug wore this cloak.
The Sorcerer Supreme breathing fire on them all. Yeah, I love that, how they were just like, Benedict, do you want to do not just one but two voice roles? Like, why are we going to pay someone else? Like, you just want to do two of them, and I love that.
I mean, I think it's more you have this big actor, like, you just didn't want to waste him.
Right. I mean, there's another character that we haven't brought up that plays another character in the trilogy as well. I mean, I'm sure one of his two roles will come up at some point. But Matt, you are on the clock. You've already picked your non-hobbit hero. You've already picked your hobbit. So you got your heroes. Now you still got your villain on the board. You got your dialogue, and you got your prop. What would you like?
Real quick, I would just like to mention that because Necromancer is Sauron, that means Benedict Cumberbatch played the main villain of both movies, both franchises.
Lord of the Rings and Smaug. Yeah, he was the Lord and he was the Smaug. Yeah, he's a titular role all over the place.
Yep. Anyway,
the power of the Daug, the power of the Smaug.
Yeah. Okay. I've got two picks. Am I right?
Yeah, you got two picks, and everyone else has taken a villain. So, I'm not trying to, aid the strategy of the draft, but just letting you know, like.
Yeah, but nobody picked either of my top two, so I'm still right there on my villains. And nobody probably would have. I knew that you guys wouldn't. They're more to my.
You can pick them earlier for graphic points if you did want. Just saying, like higher on the graphic, maybe the more visible. But
yeah, maybe I'm gonna pick. Let's see. I'm gonna talk about the other one in the honorable mentions, but I'm gonna pick for my villain. I'm going to pick the Witch King of Angmar.
Nice.
That he is at the top of this list, and that's mostly because when Chad said that he was going to pick the coolest one, the one that looked cool, and I was like, oh god, he's gonna pick Witch King, because Witch King looks super cool. Like, not only like is he a presence throughout the trilogy. Hold on, can we? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
What's up?
Time.
While Matt is talking, I'll mute. Matt, just mute yourself for a sec if you want. And I'll wait till the unmute symbol gets off. But anyone have thoughts on the Witch King? Anyone?
He's on my list. I mean, that's He's pretty cool. He's pretty scary.
Yeah, he's a good.
He stabs Frodo. That's not nice.
No, not very nice.
That's what I was gonna. I was just gonna say that's what I was gonna say too. Is he just looks really cool.
Sorry. Sorry.
Malcolm had something to say though.
Yeah, my thoughts on the Witch King is no man can defeat him.
Yeah. Yes, that's true.
Man.
He does get beaten by technicality, which really just means that anyone can beat him, because man is what they call humans, like in Middle Earth. So it just means that people can beat him. But the symbolism there is what matters, which is that the two people who basically beat him, which was a hobbit and a woman, were the two people who were deemed who even though technically that means no human can beat me or no person can beat me, everyone else in that world considers man to be a specific thing, which is a male adult human.
Gender is a spectrum,
right? And the fact that a woman and a hobbit were the people who took down the Witch King is just it's a beautiful moment. I really like that moment in the movie. But Witch King of Angmar, I mean, he's just number one. He's cool. He rides a fell beast. He did stab Frodo, and that is a, like, even to the end when he's like, it's never really healed. Like, that's he's not as powerful as some of the other people that we've talked about here, but he's super cool and I really like him.
Yeah. We've all kind of shared our thoughts when you were on mute. So Matt, you can just transition into your next pick. You still have your dialogue and your prop. What would you like? Keeping in mind that whatever you don't pick is going to be your last pick of the whole thing.
Yeah, I have to save dialogue to the end just because I still don't know. There's so many good, I keep not thinking it. There's so many good props, and I have one at the top here, but even as I look at it, I go, but what about all these other ones? And I'm sure we'll get into honorable mentions later. But for prop, I'm choosing the shards of Narsil. Cut the ring off of Sauron's hand. Was later forged into another prop, which is a different prop. So if anybody wants to fight me, it's a different prop.
I agree.
No, it's a different prop.
Yeah.
Absolutely a different prop.
Yeah. So the shards of Narsil really are a symbol in this film. I mean, it's a symbol for who Aragorn is at the beginning and who he becomes later when it is reforged into a different prop. Like, it is a symbol for the role of Aragorn, and plus it's just really cool that shard that shard of a part of a sword which cuts off the ring. It's shards of Narsil, super badass. It's really why I'm picking it. Badass.
Nice. Yeah. Anyone else have any thoughts on the shards without spoiling the other prop that may result of the shards? Stacy, you seem to have some thoughts, but maybe we should.
No. I'm just happy that it was left at the shards.
Okay.
Yep. Anyone else have thoughts on the shards?
They're a good pick.
They're really cool shards.
Very cool shards. All right, well, let's get the shard on the road. And Chad, why don't you tell us the second pick here of round 4? What are you going to pick? You already have taken your villain, your non-hobbit hero, and your dialogue. So you still have your prop and your hobbit left.
There's no reason for me to pick my hobbit right now because he will still be there.
It's not Rosie.
Yeah, he.
The one girl.
But
Rosie.
okay, so I'm going to go with prop, and I'm going to see if what I have in my head is a prop.
Oh.
And so this could potentially be a veto if you don't consider it to be. But
prefacing it already.
Because I'm thinking that a prop is like not necessarily an inanimate object, but like something that's not, I guess, living.
Just tell us what it is, man.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking of picking the Eye of Sauron.
I would say that's already been chosen.
Yeah, no, that's not a prop. That's
because
Sauron.
It's not actually Sauron. It's actually like a thing of energy that he constructed to view everything. So it's not actually his eye because he's like normal size. Well, not normal size, but he's not like that big. That's his actual eye.
Yeah.
I would say it's not a prop because it's CGI. Like, it's not a thing. You should be able to hold a prop in your hand.
Well, technically, though, Mjolnir is a prop in Marvel, and that's all CGI. So
it has a certain.
But there is a.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh no! Just there is a physical Mjolnir that he holds. Like, just because.
Yeah, not Thor:
CGI
Love and Thunder. You know,
well,
they superimpose them.
All right, this is not the time, Dylan.
Sorry, you're gonna get me on a rant about how much I hate that movie. It's interesting. Stacy, you go ahead. So Matt is vetoing it. So you need 3 of the 4 of us to veto it. So
I feel really bad, but I don't. It's not. I mean, it's somewhat sentient. It looks around and it sees Frodo when he puts on the ring and sees in the palette. It's more of a presence than a prop. Yeah. I just don't see it as a prop at all.
So are you vetoing, Stacy?
Yeah, I am.
Right, so that's 2 vetoes. Malcolm, what are your thoughts? Because if you veto, then that's it. If not, then it's up to you.
Dylan's off the hook.
Well, I'm not sure yet. I need to hear the arguments. Malcolm?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Chad, but I've got. I kind of agree with what Stacey and Matt said. Like, if you went for the tower, then it might be a different thing because there's no other place to put the tower. But unfortunately, the actual eye, I think, is still Sauron. Like, even though
Dyl did say that buildings do not count as props.
Well, yeah, because I feel like it has to be something you can like use to an extent. He uses the eye, but it's like it's almost like I'm thinking like that'd be like if we did a prop round for 1930s movies and someone took like the projection of the Wizard of Oz. Is that the actual wizard? No, but it's a projection of his face. Like that is the green face. Like, is that a prop? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of.
I would here's how I would argue.
Honestly, I'll admit right now, I'm gonna veto it only because I think Chad could find a better pick. just because I think that's not going to necessarily play as well in the graphic, because they'll see Sauron for Malcolm, and they'll say, well, the Eye of Sauron, how's
True.
that much different? Like, I think you can honestly find a stronger prop that is more of like a prop, something that is used. So for that sake, I'll also veto, but that allows us to talk about more cool things.
I know this is
Fair.
already settled, but I would say that to kind of piggyback off of it is that you say that is not Sauron, which is true, but that's like saying that the robot body that Ultron is in is not Ultron. Because
fair.
it's the same thing. Like,
Yeah. All right. But that was a good thing to bring up, because it is an iconic image for sure. But
Chad Sackville Baggins will yield.
Okay, Chad. So you still get to tell us if you still want to bring up your Hobbit or another prop.
I'm gonna do another prop. I'm gonna piggyback off of Matt, I guess, and do the weapon that was forged from the shards of Narsil.
his name is Anduril.
I was gonna say, do you know his name? Do you know his name?
Yeah, I was about to say Anduril
leading
until
up to
Matt.
it, Matt. You stole
Oh, sorry, I apologize.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's apparently like a really cool weapon that Aragorn gets to wield after they're formed back. I believe he wields this in the final movie, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a good pick. Yeah.
I want to talk about it because it was my pick. But I'm okay with you picking it because I have plenty of picks. It's so the reveal of it when they bring it to the camp to give to him is such an epic moment, and he doesn't get the army of the dead without it. Like, that's what proves to them that he's who he says he is, and they'd be dead in Pelennor Fields. Like, that would be over without the army of the dead. So it's such an important piece, even though it seems like such a small thing. Well, I mean, it's a sword, not small in size, but you know what I mean. Yeah, so that's it. That's why it was going to be my pick.
Oh yeah, it's obviously, I mean, it's a reforged version of my pick. So obviously I like it, but it's also just, it's like I said with that, this is the beginning of the shards represent the beginning of Aragorn's journey. That sword represents the end of his journey when he finally embraces that he is the king.
Yeah.
That is when that moment is when he becomes king. He is no longer Aragorn the Ranger. He's Aragorn the King. Like, that is the moment. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Good choice,
man,
Chad.
I just watched these and I want to watch them again.
It's funny because
Chad, that good.
Chad, I think, did himself a favor by putting the veto out there before his pick, because it led to, I think, a better pick, and honestly, probably one of the most iconic picks. Because if we're looking at strict weapons, like, the shards are great in what they symbolize, and I have the ring, of course, but I mean, the weapons, like, this is probably the number one weapon, even though I did have another weapon on this list. Actually, I had 3 weapons. I have a lot of weapons on my list now that I look.
I would say there's an oft-quoted weapon that probably none of us are going to pick, which is my axe.
Well, I think okay, I won't spoil picks.
Anyway.
I think that counts.
Sorry, I keep rubbing my head. It hurts.
But yeah, it's a great pick. Any thoughts, Malcolm, on that?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely tossing up between Narsil and Andriel, but now they're both gone.
Yep. But Malcolm, you do have the next pick, so you are welcome to pick your prop, or you can pick your what else are you missing? Your non-hobbit hero. What would you like?
Yeah, I'm going to save my prop. I'm still in time to think a bit where I want to go for that. But I'm going to go for my non-hobbit hero. My non-hobbit hero starts with the letter G. It's got the letters L and I in it, and it's obviously Galadriel. Because
Ooh, you trickster, because you knew.
I mean, I was considering doing that, but it's one of those ones like, this is partly because, well, one, there's very little like woman to pick from in Lord of the Rings in general, and I wanted to get at least one representative on here, and Galadriel is like, I mean, arguably she doesn't get a lot to do, but she gets a lot to do at the same, all the same. It's like, it's one of those ones like, but like she definitely sort of helps it by giving everyone like stuff that they're going to eventually need in the long runs, like and yeah, but it's just one of those characters. I think with Cate Blanchett's portrayal, I think she's definitely the right choice for Galadriel. in my mind. I haven't got around to seeing the TV series yet, so I don't know how that actress whose name is completely escaped my mind now stacks up. But yeah, but I think like Galadriel is just one of the more compelling sort of villains here.
Yeah, it's
heroes.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I was like, oh god, is that what this is?
Yeah, I mean, she does have some like badass, like scary, creepy moments, but
Oh,
she's
yeah.
obviously a hero.
Oh yeah,
I love
spooky
her,
elf
I
lady.
mean,
I love her.
and Kate Blanchett. I mean, she's amazing.
Amazing.
She's probably gonna win an Oscar next year. We'll see.
I'm really glad she got picked because she was on my list, and I thought I'd have to bring it up as an honorable mention. So
Yeah,
I'm really glad
too.
she got picked.
Me too. One thing that I love about her and is that while she is spooky, scary, and similar to Gandalf, where she like, it's clear that she knows her place, like she knows her status above other people in the thing. She still treats everyone with respect, which I really dig. And one of my favorite moments, and because I haven't seen the theatrical since 2003, I don't remember if this is in the theatrical, but one of my favorite, or I guess since 2001, because this is the first one. One of my favorite moments is when she's giving everybody the gifts, and she asks Gimli what she can give her, she can give him, and says strand of your hair, and Lego says, what did she do, or did she give you? She gave me three. I love that because throughout those whole scenes, Gimli is seen as the outsider. Like he is the one that everybody is like, that the elves are looking at like is the enemy of all these people. And she treats it, and she gives him the most intimate gift, which is a piece of her. And I love that.
That's very sweet. Any other thoughts on Galadriel, Chad?
I don't know the name of the actress, but the show is only helping increase her.
Yeah, I was about to say. I don't have her name.
Likability? I don't know. I can't think anymore. I'm sorry.
It's getting to the wee hours when we're filming this. But
she's from Saint Maud, which is she's really great in that too. Galadriel's is great. I said I don't love the elves, but she is a really cool presence, and I actually do like that character in Rings of Power, but I'm really behind on that show.
Me too.
I think she's doing a great job as that character.
Yeah,
though.
and we're not
it's
obviously
cool to see both sides to her.
We're not obviously going to put any Rings of Power stuff on the graphic, but I think it only helps Galadriel because fans of the character are like, oh, she's even better now. That's fair game because that's how people are going to vote. So, Stacy, you get to pick now either your line of dialogue or your prop. You've already gotten your two heroes, your villain off the board. You got Samwise, Saruman, and Legolas. What are you going to pick as your fourth pick?
Does anybody still need to pick props?
You and Malcolm still have a prop to take. Yes.
And is it just me and Matt that still have dialogue to take?
It is myself, Matt, and you. So 3 of us.
All right. I'm still trying to narrow shit down. That's why I'm asking. I'm still having a hard time deciding. I think maybe somebody will narrow down dialogue for me. So let me
Well, I'm the only one who can narrow it down for you, just FYI.
Yeah, I think that you might, though. I think you might narrow it down for me. We'll see. Okay, so I guess my heart pick, something I've always just liked in the movies, and I can't give you a really great reason why, other than it's kind of pretty and ethereal, and I'm a girl. The Vial of Galadriel, the light of Elendil that she gives to Frodo, that he ends up needing when he meets Shelob in the dark cave. I like it. I like it a lot.
What is the actual name of it called?
It's if you Google it, see, I always call it the light of Elendil because that's
what
it is.
That is what it's called.
Yeah, light of Elendil is what I would
call it. But if you
it.
Google it, it calls it the Vial of Galadriel. So I don't know what you want to call it because
in the movie she calls it Light of Elendil, so I would say that's
right. That's what I usually call it.
Stacey, it's up to you. We know what you're
call it the light.
About,
No, go with the Light of Elendil.
That's the cooler name, anyways.
There's a really
it's got
great,
Dyl at the end, so obviously it is.
There's a really great moment in Return of the King when he is in the Shelob's lair, and they even use it in the trailer because it's such a really cool moment. It's very small, but it's very cool. And that's when he says the thing, and he starts out saying the words slowly, and then because he's scared, he says it really quick, and then thrusts the light out. It's a brilliant moment, and I really love that.
I will say it is highly possible that my fondness for that object in the whole situation comes from the books as well. It's been a long time since I've read the books, but I feel like it had a bigger impact in them. But still, I still like it.
So I just have to clarify. There's a lot of names here. I'm trying to look for spelling. There's the Light of Arendelle or the Light of Elendil.
I think Elendil with an L.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
All right, but it's made from a crystal light of Arendil. Sorry, yeah. I'm still right.
No, it's confusing because
they're terminology. Yeah,
and they're all kind of the same thing. So,
but I'm going to put the picture of Sam holding it up so people know exactly what we're talking about.
Well, that actually brings it to in the book, because I did recently do a reread of those as well, and it is very because it does come to him at a moment that he really needs it, but also at that moment, because in the movies they do it a little bit differently. Like Sam overhears them saying he's not dead, but at that moment in the books, Sam doesn't know he's not dead.
No,
Sam picks up Sting, picks up the Light of Elendil, and picks up the ring, and just goes, and then just goes forward. And it's really that's again, Sam's a hero. But yeah, so it's a great pick. I like it.
Yeah. Anyone else have thoughts, Malcolm?
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if and I mean, if it's already happened in the series or not, I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if in the series we see her actually filling up the fire with the stars.
That'd be so cool.
With the starlight, that would be really cool. We have not seen that.
Anytime there's like some sort of like thing that's a light and a darkness, I think is just really cool, just in general. And
it gives
also
me Harry Potter vibes with the walking down the hallways
exactly
with the wand.
Yep. And the fact that it was a heart pick is just really cool and special. So great pick.
My next pick, it's going to be a heart pick, but also, I mean, I can't believe this got around to me.
Oh yeah, you're so going to narrow it down for me.
No, I'm picking Gimli as my non-hobbit. I honestly can't believe it. I mean, there are obviously so many good ones. Obviously, you guys have picked the great ones: Aragorn, Gandalf, Galadriel, and Legolas. But I was just surprised because we brought them up so much. Stacy, you were like, they're a pair, and then like Matt was like, spoiled a prop and said his axe, and then Malcolm was like, I'm picking something that starts with a G and ends with an IEL or whatever, or an L or. Has an L and an I in it. And I was like, okay. And all three times I thought I was going to lose him, and I got him as the last pick in this category. I did have a good backup, and now that we've all picked ours, I was thinking if I wasn't going to get Bilbo, I wanted some Hobbit representation, and then if I didn't get Smaug, I was going to pick Thorin Oakenshield here because I think Thorin is such a cool character, being a dwarf and still being like the Aragorn of that trilogy. But in terms of like just the presence he has, but I really do love Gimli. I mean, he is such a great character. I love in Hobbit when they kind of reference Gimli and they're like talking about my son, and it's like Gimli, it's a little picture, and Legolas is like sees the picture of little baby Gimli, and it's so fun. I love it. I love Gimli. John Rhys Davies, that was the one I was alluding to earlier, who has two roles like Benedict Cumberbatch. He also plays Treebeard, which was also on my list. My list was 10 of these heroes long because I didn't know it. I also thought of Eowyn, like so many great characters on this list. The non-hobbit hero is for me the deepest category, but I am really happy that I got Gimli because he is my number 2. Actually, no, he's my number 1. I'm looking at my list now. Yeah, he was my number 1 non-hobbit hero. So I'm just ecstatic that I picked him. We've already said so much, but if anyone has anything to say about Sir Gimli, anyone want to say anything?
Like for me, like I did actually have Gimli higher than Galadriel, but it was one of those ones like I then put in the moment like, well, if I take Gimli, it's going like. No, I wasn't sure if any of the female heroes were going to be taken. So I thought I'll bring some to light by bringing up Galadriel, but just because there is so few to pick, as it is anyway. But yeah, I like it's one of those ones like I was even considering like because Gimli and Legolas are one of those, kind of like, for me, like C3PO and R2-D2 is like, you pick one, like, sometimes it's really hard to pick them on their own, because
Like
I think
a package deal.
I think their best moments is when they are interacting together, as opposed to on their own. And I think that's part of why I think Legolas, while I enjoyed him in the Hobbit movies, like he just felt a little bit more drier, and that just because he didn't really have like Gimli. Obviously, Gimli wasn't around then anyway, but to bounce off like barbs with all the time. So
yeah, that's a good point.
They're the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Like that's the thing.
yeah,
And
It's
they're
wonderful.
brilliant. And I love Gimli. Gimli was, like I said, right above Legolas, but they are such a package deal, and I love them so much. John Rhys Davies is amazing. Yeah, so many, like I'm not gonna go through all of them, obviously, but some of my favorite lines are from Gimli and in his great voice. I love Gimli. It's such a great pick. He was obviously on my list. He's great.
Matt, I have to ask you, which is Rosencrantz, which is Guildenstern? No, like in terms of these two, not like who are they? Like
I know. That's it's really funny because this just makes me think of the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead, where they don't even know which one's which. But I would say Legolas is Rosencrantz.
Yep, I that's where I was going as well. Okay. Yeah. Any other thoughts on Gimli, Chad? Any thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, he's just a really funny character. Just like Matt said, I think the voice really sells it, because he always kind of sounds angry, but he's just saying really, really comical things. And I think because Lord of the Rings can sometimes get pretty dark, I think that his comedy really helps you through that. So yeah, great pick.
Stacy, any thoughts on Gimli?
I mean, he's on my list. He was number 5 on my list. So, and I already talked about him and Legolas as a pair and their friendship. So, I think that just about covers it.
It's a great pick. And I will say, if anyone hasn't seen the recording of the West End production of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead with Daniel Radcliffe, it is so good. Round 5, pick one. I have my quote left. I'm going to pick my quote. I don't know if I'm going to narrow it down, Stacey, because this quote is more of like a personal pick. I could go for the heavy hitters. There's a quote that no one's brought up yet that is on the AFI Top 100 Quotes list. I'm not going to bring that one up because also I have something in my lineup that kind of fulfills that pick anyway. So not to spoil what it is. Maybe someone will pick it. I'm picking one that, as a hopeless romantic, there's a quote that I personally like. I've used on girls before. Not like to pick up girls, but like in relationships. No, like in past relationships I've been on. I've written this on a card and they, I'm a sappy romantic, and this is a quote I use. It's also one that I have on a little wine glass, and it gets some female representation on my board. The quote I'm picking it's a long one. I would rather share one lifetime with you than face all the ages of this world alone. And that is just like, for a hopeless romantic like me. And I say hopeless because I'm in dire need of compatibility.
Is that Arwen?
Yes,
Arwen.
Yeah, that's Arwen.
I'm in desperate need of companionship, and I'm very lonely. So even it hits me even more now. But no, it makes me very sad, but also very hopeful and happy and romantic, and it flutters my heart. Because honestly, I don't love that relationship as much as most. Like, it's not like one of the highlights of the trilogy for me. Their relationship, I'm just kind of like, oh great. Actually, I like Eowyn a lot more as a character, but this moment is just so tender and beautiful between the two of them. And it's one of those things that you hear, it's just so poetic. And like, that's Tolkien. Like, that's straight from the book. That's like his words, his beauty. I just love that quote. I don't know if that helped you narrow it down, Stacy, but I don't really care because I love the quote. I know it didn't. And it's my last pick. So I'm like, I want this to be like the last thing on my graphic because I have Gollum. I have Gollum and Gimli's. I've got some dirty little suckers in there. So it's nice to end on this romantic note.
I think Stacy's going to have to do an eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
I wish I knew what Matt wanted, but I don't.
I have so many.
I do too.
At the end, I just want Matt and Stacy to just keep rattling off theirs, but I won't. I have some honorable mentions as well, but yeah, it's a tough category for sure.
That's a great pick. It's on my list. Obviously, it's really good. I do like that relationship. But I love that because that's one thing that I think makes the movies better than the books is the expansion of that story and making her an actual character in the thing. So I really, rather than just love it, she's a character, and I really love that. So yes, it's a great well.
Yeah, Malcolm.
Yeah, when you were talking about being hopeless and romantic, in my mind, I thought you used a certain Gandalf quote in your cards. I'm not going to say it until ultimate honorable mentions if it doesn't come up, but I was going to laugh. That really doesn't work as a romantic.
Thou shalt not pass. Sorry, I just had to say it. It's so funny. I know we're not supposed to spoil picks, but I think that's just so funny because people are watching this and be like, which one? It makes it even funnier in the moment. Chad, have you ever used this in a love letter to Carrie?
No, but maybe I will have to.
Valentine's Day, engrave it on the box of chocolates. Do it.
I do think it's a great quote. I also love romances that are just like really, really sweet, and when two people actually like find each other and they work for each other and they actually like lift each other up. And I think this is one of those because I know like Arwen like struggled over that decision. It's a really great relationship, great quote, great pick.
Thank you. And it's going to be a bitch to try to fit onto that little graphic, but it doesn't matter because I love it. Stacy, you got to pick a quote. You got to do it. And
I can
put them all in a wheel for you and spin it if you'd like.
No, it's fine. I mean, I had it narrowed down basically to neither one are more heart than the other because they both have different reasons that I was partial to them. But I'm going to have to go with I Am No Man. Yeah, we have to go with the girl power. I Am No Man. So let me tell you, when I went to that Lord of the Rings marathon and we watched Return of the King, that's a line from the books, I Am No Man. And that line got the biggest cheers, and it was women. It got the best reaction out of anything in the whole movie, really. It's just, like you said, it's kind of a technicality. It's a little cheesy in that way, but it's just such a great moment for Eowyn, who really just deserves a great moment at that point, especially after hacking through that felled beast's neck. Come on, like,
no kidding.
I Am No Man.
And
Matt, as the receiving end, having picked the Witch King of Angmar, how do you take this quote? Is this a personal attack?
No. I love it. Here's the thing: is that I actually see it as yes, it's a technicality, but when people belittle it because of that, like it's wordplay, save the day or whatever. I love that quote because like I said before, anybody could have killed the Witch King, but she is the one who said, no, I am doing it. I am not what you think I am. Like I am more than you think I am, and thrust that sword in there. It's so beautiful. And then he crumples like a can. And it's wonderful. And it's basically over the body of her father figure, the person who basically like the father figure she has left, like as he lays there dying, and just right after that he's like, what are you doing here? Like he doesn't even realize that she just saved his life. Like I love that. I love it.
And it's so vindicating because this whole time she's been trying, like people have been putting her in her place as a woman and telling her what she can and can't do, and telling her what she can and can't be. And then in that moment, she is a woman, and guess what? That's gonna kill you.
Yeah, that's gonna be the thing that does it. And I like what Malcolm said about like just the lack of representation itself for women in Lord of the Rings. It's fairly lacking. So like the fact that this is such a monumental moment and such an impactful moment for the overall story is huge. So I love that. Malcolm.
Yeah, and I mean, if she'd listened to her father and not gone to the battle like she was told, like she wouldn't have been able to save him. That's just the case.
Chad, any thoughts on I Am No Man?
Yeah, I mean, I think I said this in our picture this episode. I'm in a little bit more in the middle of it. I actually do really like Eowyn's character, and I like that moment. I do think the line is a little too cheesy for me, but I'm like, you know what he meant, Eowyn. Come on now.
That's the point.
Again, it might be book partiality that comes into play too, somewhat there, because it is a book line. But I'm sorry, go ahead, Chad.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It just is a little cringe for me on some level, but then also I do think it's a really cool moment too. So I see both sides, but it's a great pick either way because it is such a beloved line.
Yeah. Moving on now to Malcolm. Malcolm, you have to pick a prop. You're the last one to pick a prop. So what would you like as your prop?
Yeah, I was going to be taking the Light of Elendil or Andrew or however, but it was taken from me. So I'm just going to be really simple here, and I'm just going to be taking and my apps. I'm taking Gimli's axe.
That was my number two. That was my number 2 behind the ring. Yeah, that's a good pick.
But yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like it's why I wasn't too worried about giving up Gimli to take Galadriel in the end, because I knew in my head like if the light was taken from me, then I would have gone the axe anyway. And I mean, it's just one of those ones like it may be really like simplistic prop, like it doesn't really have any magical elements that I know about. But it's just one of those ones like I do like Gimli, and I think, and even just when them going like at the council, like the ring must destroyed, like Gimli's like rushes in and tries to smash it with the axe, just
so good.
like without any hesitation whatsoever.
And the design is so cool. Like it's unlike any axe you've ever seen, and it's so I really love the design of his axe.
Yeah, and it's I like the point you bring up, Malcolm, of the fact that it's got no magical powers, and that's honestly what makes it special. It's just an axe, and I love it because it's his axe and he loves it. And with the exception of, and we've all said props, so I'm going to just say a pick. The exception of Legolas and his bow, like it's the most connected you see a person to his weapon, and obviously you see it with Anduril as well, and the light. I mean, all these props are very important, but like just the bond he has with that axe is just so good. So, any other thoughts on Gimli's axe?
It's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good pick.
Cool. Moving on now, Chad, you get to round out the hobbits. What would you like as your hobbit?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm gonna go with I feel like the last obvious one, Pippin. And actually,
I wrote down Rosie the Hobbit. Let me erase.
It's actually kind of funny though because after Sam, Pippin was my number 2. And I was like, but it's not like number 2 as far as I think he's so much better than Frodo, so much better than Merry or Bilbo. It's not really that. I do like him. I think the second, I think he's the funniest of the of all the hobbits, and a lot of the times for me that works. I love how it's like, I think isn't it like the first half of Fellowship ends with him going, where are we going? And I think that's hilarious that he's just so clueless. And then he's always kind of fucking up, and I've been that guy before, just doing dumb shit. And I don't know. And then I think that's where the complexity from Gandalf comes for me, is because even in the third movie, he's putting Pippin down like the whole time. And I'm like, give the motherfucker a break, dude. He's just like, he hasn't really changed that much, but he's there in this like crazy situation that, he probably doesn't want to be in anyways. But and then I do love the growth that he has in that third movie. He saves Faramir's life, correct? I believe I'm getting all these facts right. He's just a really, I think Billy Boyd is really fantastic. He was in Master and Commander that we saw. He was in 2 Best Picture movies in 2003. And I watched I watched the video of him and Dominic Monaghan trying to stump Stephen Colbert in trivia. And they're just both so cute. And Billy just seems like a really cool guy. So I think Pippin is a fantastic pick. And I'm glad I ended up with him. Even though I didn't like reach for him, I was hoping that he would fall to me, and he did.
Yeah, it's a great pick. I also
yeah.
I like the arc like you talked about. I like also that you have both Gandalf and Pippin on your graphics. So like no matter which side you take, you're getting that vote. If you feel strongly one way or the other. But and I also feel like like you said, Billy Boyd kind of underappreciated because he hasn't had the biggest career of everyone. Like Elijah Wood didn't really need the biggest career. He was Frodo, but he still got some good roles after this. Obviously, Sean Astin being the biggest one. Dominic Monaghan not as much, but he's in Star Wars. So
and he was in Lost.
He was in Lost.
Charlie.
I've never seen Lost. So
Honey's boat.
I've never seen Lost.
I love him in Lost.
Won't. It's a long show, but I probably won't see it. Maybe
you should check out Lost. It's not that
really good. And Charlie's like my favorite in Lost.
Still, like Billy Boyd, that even emphasizes my point. Billy Boyd is a little slept on, especially
definitely.
other actors. So
good.
You sure? All right. I think Pippin is a little slept on. I think he gets often just written off as the dumb comedic one. And it's extremely unfair because, like, he does save Faramir. He saves fucking Gandalf. Gandalf is about to get it, and he saves Gandalf, okay? He lights the beacons. I mean, Pippin, he's all heart. Like, every dumb move he makes, it's just because he has a childlike curiosity, and he's just all going with his heart. And it's beautiful. There's something beautiful about that. And I'm going to bring it up because I always have to. He's the one that's supposed to figure out the riddle, but they gave that line to Frodo when they're going into Moria.
Melon.
I always get mad about that because everyone thinks he's just a dummy. I'm like, why wouldn't they just let him keep that line and give him a little bit of credit? But
I love Pippin. He was actually my third pick behind Sam and Bilbo. So like he was up there for me.
He was my second pick, and then I decided to go with Frodo. Wow. Again, that was a rare strategic me.
Yeah.
Because people write him off as dumb.
He does.
So you know
he
that
does. He's the ADHD Hobbit. He is a fool of a toque. And here's the thing. Gandalf, you have to look at what Gandalf his relationship with him, because basically every interaction with him up until the very end is him just messing up. He steals his fireworks and causes a big problem. He alerts the orcs to their presence in Moria. He is the one who throws the rocks into the water that causes the big monster to.
But on the other hand, though, I know that Gandalf has like so much to deal with. I get that, but also I feel like he could just be a better teacher instead of just because he's gonna make Pippin worse. I feel like the way he treats him.
Famously, Gandalf has his favorite pupils and the people that he doesn't pay as much attention to. That's his deal. And he should treat him better. And by the end, I think he understands that. Because again, saves his life, saves Faramir's life. But I love Pippin's journey because he goes from just messing up to failing into saving things. Because he lights the beacon, but also almost kills himself.
Yeah.
Like a lot of really great moments. Plus, he has one of my absolute favorite moments in the entire series, which is when he's singing to Denethor. I love that. Yeah. I replayed that track from the soundtrack more than any of the tracks on any of the soundtracks. So.
Yeah. Beautiful song. A beaut of a toque, if you will. So moving on now to the Mr. Irrelevant pick at number 5. Matt, you're taking us to the end of the draft here. Final pick in the draft. You get your line of dialogue. You got a lot to choose from. So what would you like as your line of dialogue to round out this draft? And you're welcome to list off a few since this is the last pick if you'd like to kind of go through your process, because no one else has to pick if you'd like to do that.
I have so many that it would take forever. And I will mention some other, which honestly, I'm just going to get it out of the way and then we can all talk about dialogue. I've been struggling. There's so much that I like, but there's one moment that is the stand up and cheer moment, and Stacy actually already said it earlier, and that is I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you, and then he lifts him up and he takes him into the fires of Mount Doom. That's gonna be my line. It's a stand up and cheer moment. It's so good. It is the fulfillment of Sam's entire arc. Getting to that moment when he realizes he's not just support, he has to carry it. Like it's beautiful, and carrying his friend to the finish line. It's the fulfillment of Sam's life arc. I love it.
Yeah, it's a great pick and it's a great moment. The only reason I didn't pick it is because, like, of all the quotes, I figured last round I wanted to make it more personal and not go for the more popular pick, because this is like a very popular quote. But that being said, it's a popular quote because it's a fantastic quote and a fantastic moment, and because he is your favorite character next to Batman. Like, yeah, I'm glad you have some Sam representation as well, because everyone has some Sam. I have the ring, which Sam is. I guess I have the least amount of Sam on mine, because I have the ring, which I guess Sam is involved with. Stacy has Sam. Malcolm has potatoes. Chad has the bowing to no one. And then you have the quote of "I can't carry with you." So we all love Sam. We all have Sam.
We do love Sam.
So I love that. Stacy,
there's a reason that when I met Elijah Wood and got a picture, I put him on my back. It's because that is such an iconic moment. It's such an emotional moment. It's just fabulous. It's a great quote. I don't know. You said it all.
It's so good. Yeah.
Malcolm.
Like when it came to quotes, like there's a few that I just left off just because I thought they would either go really quickly or they'll they're just the super obvious, because I know people are probably going to yell at us that we didn't have My Precious or You Shall Not Pass on. That no one drafted either of those. Like, and this is, and like that the I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you quote. I think it's one of those other ones that I thought was a really obvious one that I thought someone was going to pick. So it's like, I'm not going to bother trying to take it because someone else is going to take it anyway.
Yeah, I'll admit it has great value in the 5th round. Like that is great value where you got it. We talked about draft strategy. That was great. I do want to say, like Malcolm, you did bring up My Precious. My Precious is the quote that is on AFI's top 100 quotes. It's My Precious, but I didn't pick it because Gollum was already on my board. But that would have been my other pick.
I had to go with the strong female representation.
My other one was "What about second breakfast?" I love that quote. Let's go around really quickly. Any honorable mentions for lines of dialogue? Stacy, you have any?
Lots.
I'll tell a few. The one that's it's really probably 2 lines of dialogue, but they don't really make sense without each other. And that's Legolas and Gimli. I never thought I'd die side by side with an elf. How about side by side with a friend?
How about side by side with a friend?
For Frodo, simple but effective. Also chokes me up.
For Frodo, yes.
And I did have You Shall Not Pass.
Matt's giving the impression of each one.
And
says,
I had You Shall Not Pass, even though it's kind of cliche, for 2 reasons. One, it is like the iconic line. I mean, My Precious is up there too, but like you say You Shall Not Pass and people know exactly what you're talking about. And I use it like it's what I call my Wi-Fi network. I have a mask that says it. Like I just use it so much.
When you're on the street and you want to get like food and there's a long line, you just kind of put the staff down at the door.
I would have a doormat that says it, but I went with the Speak Friend and Enter doormat instead because I did want people to pass.
Careful with that. That one could let vampires into your house. Just so you're aware.
Well, it says it. Does it say it? No, it doesn't say it in Elvish. It just has the door with the Elvish on it.
Okay. Chad, any other lines of dialogue? We'll get into other honorable mentions, but I'll read off all the list. But while we're on dialogue, Chad, any dialogue honorable mentions?
I didn't actually get to say, but I do think that I Can Carry You line is really good. But it's not like one of my favorite Sam lines. I like in the beginning when he says, "I ain't dropping no eaves."
I ain't dropping no eaves.
That's really funny. Good. And then a deep one that I love from him is actually when he thinks Frodo is dead, and he says, "Don't go where I can't follow."
Oh.
Just stuff like
So many good ones.
Chad, you're gonna make me cry.
just stuff like that really gets to me.
It's so good.
But
That's on my list.
there's just so many great Sam quotes. But the other one that I was thinking about picking before I chose what I did was a Gandalf quote, and it's at the very end is one of my favorite scenes in the whole trilogy. And he says, when everybody is sad, he says, "I must not say, do not weep, for not all tears are an evil."
So good.
Like those are just great.
So deep,
like,
yeah.
words. Like I think the tough thing about this category is like you can either pick the quote for the moment or the quote for the actual words. And I feel like I picked one that was more about the words, and like I feel like I Am No Man is more about the moment, and My Friends You Bow to No One is about the moment. But that's why they're so memorable, is because like those are the ones we can quote, and that's what's so special. Any honorable mentions, Malcolm, for quotes? Matt, you're gonna be last, like you have in this whole draft. Sorry.
But yeah, there's definitely a few. But just to bring up some Hobbit representation, like Bilbo's quote from the first Hobbit movie. "Look, I know you doubt me. I know you always have, and you're right. I often think of Bag End. I miss my books and my armchair and my garden. See, that's where I belong. That's home. That's why I came back, because you don't have one. A home. It was taken from you, but I'll help you take it back if I can."
Oh yeah, that's a great little monologue. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, it's a lot long. I probably would have put shortened it down if I was going to pick it, but but it's just one of those ones that definitely like speaks to me. Just and even just the Gandalf thing, when Bilbo says good morning, like, what do you mean? Do you mean to wish me a good morning, or do you mean there's a good morning whether I want it or not? But it's just that was another one that's a very long bit of dialogue. I mean, honestly, the entire script from all the Middle Earth movies, I think, will work just as well for Gross. It's like, there's a big birth.
I used that line the other day when my boss told me good morning. I said, do you mean good morning as in you wish me a good morning, or good morning as it's a good morning whether I wish it to be or not? Like, because that's a great line. I have a lot.
Too. I haven't thought about that.
I'm going to try to keep it brief, but there's a line. Sam has this really great monologue, and then where he's saying you got to have something to hold on to, and Frodo says, "Well, what are you holding on to, Sam?" And he says that there's good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for. Oh, so good.
Sam, what a poet.
That was the speech I was trying to get when I was talking about the Fell Beast. When I was talking about Sam, and I'm like, they're on the bridge and there's the Fell Beast. I just couldn't get there.
Yeah.
I'm a little sick and a little tired.
And then there's a Frodo line. I'm glad to be with you, Samwise Gamgee, here at the end of all things.
I love that one too.
And there's so many. There's the day may come when the courage of men fail, but it is not this day. His whole speech is so good. For Frodo, obviously. I don't have it in front of me, but really all of Theoden King's speech right before Helm's Deep, when it's like being said over him getting like outfitted, equipped. It's just so good. It's just a good scene. It's maybe not the quotes, but the scene is so good. There's also sorry. There's so many good ones. God,
Matt, do you want to think about it? I'll go through everyone's draft board.
I've got it's really not even the thinking; it's the choosing. Go on. Let's move on.
So let me just recap, everyone. So that was our draft. Let me recap. This is one of our longer ones, but again, not even close to the length of the movie, so we're still good. But let me rattle off our list. So my list: The Ring, Gollum, Bilbo, Gimli, and I would rather share one lifetime with you than face all the ages of the world alone. Biggest quote of the day. Stacy, Samwise Gamgee, Saruman, Legolas, Light of Elendil, and I Am No Man. Sorry, I'm just trying to read my own writing. It's sloppy. Malcolm, potatoes, boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. Sauron, sorry, I combined those two. Sorry, Sauron, Merry, Galadriel, Gimli's axe. Chad, My Friends You Bow to No One. Gandalf, Smaug, Anduril, Pippin, And Matt, you have Aragorn, Frodo, the Witch King of Angmar, Shards of Narsil, and I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you. That is
Ooh, it's a
probably the
good
most
list.
stacked
It is a good list.
draft board, just across the list, all 5. This is going to be impossible, but y'all, you can all vote on the poll on Facebook. I don't think you have to be a member of the group, but you might as well be. I'll post that link in the chat right now. I'll post it in the description below. And I will post it all over social media, so you can go vote on it. The only thing is that Stacy, you cannot vote for your own. Malcolm, you cannot vote for your own. Chad, you cannot vote for your own. I cannot vote for my own. And Matt, as much as you want to, you cannot vote for your own. So
I want to vote for Stacy.
I know you've already said it. Yeah, as soon as I said it, I realized. But yeah, that is our draft. Very exciting. Let's just go through some honorable mentions real quick. For me, the only everyone's picks were already taken for a lot of mine. Props, I had a few more. I had Sting, the sword.
Sting. I was surprised it didn't go.
I had
Sting as well.
I had Mithril, which is the armor itself. I think it's underrated. And Gandalf's staff, I think, is very important, as well as Legolas's bow and arrow. And as a cheeky pick, if I had the last pick of the draft, if I ended up getting the 5th pick, for my villain, I would have taken the Weinsteins, because fuck them. But
Fuck them
that
indeed.
was a more outside the box pick, and a hey, why did you split this into 3 movies? Trying to play that angle, but I didn't want to be that outside the box, and I don't want them on the graphics, so I'm glad I got Gollum instead. But yeah, the Weinsteins were my number 6 villain on the list. Stacy, any honorable mentions for any categories?
Just a few props and villains. Everything else kind of went. And actually, most of the props I think we've mentioned now. But the elven cloaks, I think, get very overlooked. They're useful as a cloak for warmth. They hide you and blend into your surroundings. You can throw your brooch down so people can find you. Yeah, they were pretty high up on my list for props. The cloaks.
I have to say, before you continue, Stacey, Chad, as the resident Harry Potter stan, I know a lot of us are Harry Potter stans, but as one of the biggest ones I know, invisibility cloak or the elven cloaks, what wins?
Invisibility cloak.
I figured you'd say.
I mean,
I know. Both kind of.
But if you want to look like a rock, it's the elven cloak.
And if you want to look like the Rock, good luck. Stacey, any other honorable mentions?
And I had a few villains. They're kind of definitely minor. Wormtongue, who is just so you just want to punch him
Brad
more
Dourif
than anybody.
is so good.
Yeah. The Balrog, because he's the Balrog. And let's face it, if the Balrog didn't pull Gandalf down, we wouldn't have gotten Gandalf the White. We covered the ring wraiths and Shelob, because a giant spider is always a good villain.
Shelob was on my list as well. I forgot that. I knocked Shelob off my list for the Weinsteins as like my fun pick, but good pick. Malcolm, any honorable mentions?
Everything else has been talked about.
Any of the categories?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was almost considering going outside the box and picking Rosie for my Hobbit, but when it comes to Hobbit, there really wasn't a lot of choices, to be honest.
The five we picked are like the 5, but Rosie underrated. I mean, Samwise, his lover left on a boat, and he had to find some other love somewhere else, and Rosie gave it to him, and I love them both.
Yeah, like for the props, I was almost tempted to go for Smaug's treasure, but I didn't want to be chased by a dragon.
The Arkenstone.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the Arkenstone. I thought about that
earlier.
That was a good one too.
Yeah. Like when it comes to non-hobbit heroes like Aaron and Eowyn, I think we're definitely high up on my lists.
For sure. Chad, any honorable mentions in any of these categories that have not been mentioned?
Well, I just wanted to kind of talk about the Shelob real quick, because when we were doing Picture This, I was interested because I was like, I remember there's a giant spider in this one, and then I was like kind of disappointed. I was like, Aragog's like way better, because like he's got like a whole army of spiders, and it's just like a big spider. It's like not even that scary. But anyways, no.
You're a Harry Potter stan. I would.
I am. I'm that guy. Why am I even here? Psych. No, but the ring wraiths, I think, were going to be, if I didn't get Smaug, that specifically like the one at the very beginning of Fellowship, I think is like one of the scariest images in the trilogy for me. I just remember seeing that, like, just this huge presence while they're hiding, and I'd love to have that like framed because that's just such a beautiful shot and scary. And then also I almost picked Sting, but I went Andoril instead.
Matt,
it's good. Shelob does have an army of spiders. She's the queen of spiders. All spiders come from Morgoth. Well, Shelob, who comes from Morgoth, so it's she has an army of spiders.
I'd love to know. I'd love to know what someone who's never seen Lord of the Rings thinks of this episode because
that's
if I had
insane.
never heard of it, whatever came out of your mouth, Matt, I would be. I don't know what I would say. Like,
and I was like, yes, continue.
I'd be like,
keep speaking truth.
Okay. So as far as Palantir was also on my list as far as props.
Mm-hmm.
Sting was also on my list, but Palantir, it's a really cool prop. And does have an impact, like especially in that in the third one. Well, really all of it. Like, that's basically how Sauron was corrupting like Saruman, like that, or at least that's how his influence was still there. So like, that's one. Okay, so I said that I was between two villains, and I knew that neither of them were probably going to get picked, and one of them was Witch King. The other one is actually one of my like favorite presences in the series, which is John Noble as Denethor. I love every second he's on screen. People, it's become kind of a meme, and people actually make fun of it now. But the way, like that scene where he's eating while Pippin is singing to him. It's so menacing. I've never seen someone eat so menacingly. Like,
it's so disturbing.
He bites that tomato, and the way it squirts, people are talking about loud now. Like, I saw a meme that's like, he still hasn't apologized for that. I'm like, he doesn't need to, man. That is the best eating I've ever seen on screen. It's so menacing and so good. And just every second he's on screen is so good. And I mentioned this during our Game of Thrones draft day, which is like, you can tell Tywin's kids, each of them are exactly the person that you would think. Same goes with if you were the kids of Denethor, Boromir and Faramir are who you would get, and for different, very, very different reasons. And I really love them. Boromir, also a hero that I wanted to put, that I've had on my list, and Eowyn because she's awesome. Those are. I have lots of honorable mentions, but I'm cutting it down.
I was going to say this is our longest episode, and
very tired and sick. So
very good. Malcolm, any last words there?
Well, last thing I was going to say is I thought of Denethor. I struggled to call him a villain per se, though. But realistically, that's the only place I could have put.
He's one of those more tortured souls, kind of like what you were talking about. Gollum. But yeah, that is our draft. It was a fun one. It was a long one. Thank you all for bearing with us. You're seeing this on a Tuesday morning, but we did this on a Monday night. Well, Malcolm, it's probably a morning for you. But yeah, for a lot of us,
it's afternoon night. Actually. But
well, there you go. So you're about to have your second breakfast. See, I pulled it all full circle. But yeah, I'm not gonna have you all plug yourselves because you all have been on my channel a bunch, but I'll put your information in the bio. But Malcolm, since you haven't been on draft day, why don't you plug yourself and where they can find you? Everyone else you can find here, and then if you want to know where else you can find them, you can look at past draft day episodes and just see where I can find them, because they plug themselves every time. Sorry if that's okay, everyone. Just to cut down.
Yeah, that's fine.
Malcolm, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Take Few Productions. I host Rankum every Saturday. Usually it's Saturday, but this week it's going to be Sunday, just because the Shimano Spectacular is on Saturday, and I didn't really want to be in the shadow of that. We're doing top 12 horror comedies. Stacey's going to be on it. And yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much all over the place on Full Metal Movie Hero Network, depending on where anyone is doing stuff. Chancellor, you'll find me.
Yeah, I was gonna say that video the other night was longer than this one, so I don't feel bad about the length of this one, because it was a great discussion, and we always have great discussions here. Before I do last words, I'll just remind everyone one more time: vote on the poll. There will also be a graphic if you forget what our picks were and don't want to watch this 2.5-hour video again. I will also have a graphic in those comments, all laid out for you all beautifully, so you can all see what those picks were. Any last words from you, Stacy?
No. I want to go to bed.
Great. Any last words from you, Matt?
For Frodo.
Any last words, Chad?
Nope.
And Malcolm, any last words?
Can we go home now?